Good morning, and thank you for having me. My name is Bobby Daniels, and I'm here representing New Vision Incorporated, and I am their development consultant, and I'm the author of the grant. New Vision was founded by Dr. Timothy Malone in 2001. And since that time, the organization has served over 8,000 youth through several programs, including mentoring, charter school. They have a New Vision's Academy, after-school programming, at-risk adoption programs, home study programs throughout the Middle Tennessee area. 2016 through 2017, they served 1,795 youth. You know, they say that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and in this case, a title. As a development consultant, I like titles, you know, and I look around for that perfect name. And because I'm a writer, I try to find something that the words jump off the page. This was an easy fix. The Positive Action Program. Positive. And throughout this 10-slide presentation, you're going to see that word a lot. Out of the other 9 slides, there's important information. There's important information on every page of that grant. However, what do they do? What is this all about? And it is to prevent the juvenile offenders of today from becoming the adult offenders of tomorrow. That's not meant to be clever. The reality is, and Mr. Swack knows, and so does Ms. Chapman, and you as well, that the cost to house an adult offender per year, the loss to the economy, is $76,200. So as you will see in the application and on the screen, if you only save 40 children, you've made an impact. We're going. The community need. Toxic and toxic stress experienced by our target population during childhood at its root is a major reason this type of programming is needed. The community impact. The program will provide trauma-informed care practices and programming for participants through a SAMHSA evidence-based concept of a trauma-informed approaches and an ACE survey and COPE survey. Those are in your packets as well, but just for the record, this is the COPE, and that's the ACE survey. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the estimated lifetime costs associated with childhood maltreatment is $124 billion yearly. Our Positive Action Program will provide programming services for at-risk youth ages 12 through 17 having one or more offenses before the juvenile court in Nashville, Davidson County. The proposal opts to bring in 65 youth during the 12-month grant period. Again, if only 40 of those do not end up in the adult system, the possible savings to the tax purse is $3.8 million. One, they want to integrate a high-quality program in the identified Nashville Promise Zones for children to prevent ACEs wherever possible and respond to them with strong, nurturing supports to ameliorate their impact when that cannot be prevented. One of the outcomes is to increase the participating youth's cognitive skill building and knowledge base. And at the end of the day, all of this is about trying to get the participating youth to make positive decisions, which in turn will make positive actions. Okay. Projected number of clients, again, we just said was 65 at-risk youth. Community benefit. In a recent media release from the Robert Woods Johnson Foundation, data showed that at least 38% of children in every state had at least one ACE. ACEs may include death or incarceration of a parent, witnessing or being a victim of violence, or living with someone who has been suicidal or had a drug-related problem. The program duration will be 12 months, utilizing community-based enrichment and positive action. And that positive action program there is the model that will be used is out of North Carolina. And they had very, very positive results with it, but that will be just one of the tools that will be used. Slide 5. New Visions has provided services to Nashville in their youth for over 16 years. Collectively, the agency's senior staff has 108 years' experience working with youth in the field of social work, case management, family advocacy, and preservation, and providing hope to children who feel hopeless by their life experiences and circumstances. Baseline data will be collected at program entry along with completion of the participant profile and recorded in the agency database. The program will track clients to determine the numbers that have relapsed or returned to juvenile court. Evaluation will be built on just-in-time information garnered from data and enhanced collection of information from successful cases and for unsuccessful cases. And the unsuccessful cases can only help New Visions to strengthen their program. And importantly, these services will be provided, these community-based services can be in a variety of settings. The juvenile court, even juvenile detention if required and requested by the court, at family homes, at churches, at schools. The organization wants the flexibility while embracing a holistic approach, working with children and their family at the site best suited for that child. So it's kind of meeting the child wherever the child needs might be. 12-week curriculum with 90-minute sessions, and they can last up to 12 months. Yes. These are the dollars, Mr. Swack, that are associated with it. Obviously, CPF application, you know, the limit was $50,000. And even though when you look at the actual grant in review, a lot of in-kind is not listed, but the in-kind is automatic because you're bringing on staff that is not going to be paid from this pot of dollars that are going to be participating. And we're moving. The return on investment is the one that we really want to look at, their expected outcomes. To prevent a minimum of 50 of 65 enrolled juvenile offenders from possibly becoming adult offenders. And we're going to keep coming back to that because unless the numbers have changed, the numbers that we have that were available to us is, you know, it's about $130 a day for these kids, or $45 a year, I think, is in Davidson County. Is that correct? For the housing of one juvenile offender in detention.
Detention cost?
Yes, sir.
The current, that's actually, it was at one time, but in terms of...
It's actually gone up, yeah.
In our detention facility, the current cost is $291 a day.
And see, yes. And so what happened is we didn't really hang our hat on that, but when it comes down to that child crossing over after 18, going into the adult system, it's a possible savings to the tax purse of $3.8 million. And those are Bureau of Justice statistics figures, not ours. To define success, the number of youth who refrain from returning to juvenile court with new charges and/or violations and do not enter the state adult system. These children, obviously, too, as said in the application, will be tracked beyond the 12-month period. Okay? Dr. Timothy Malone, that we spoke about, he's the CEO and executive director, and he's the founder. But these are just the staff that we'll be working with. The one new administrator would be hired, if awarded, as the project administrator. Other than funding, it's really just getting that project administrator in place, and then going through a survey and deciding, you know, because they're not going to use all 5 models at one time to determine which will work best for those youth. They said, when can results be expected? Well, you know, at the end of 12 months. However, one of the things that the organization aims to do is provide periodic reports, not just to the court, but to the parole officers or probation officers, and the family as well. So again, that is that just-in-time reporting. Nobody can believe that I'm on slide 10. Sustainability. My wife says I can go on a bit. In addition to shepherding the current partners and funding relationships, New Vision's Executive Director and Board have recently made the decision to diversify the organization's funding base and are engaged in the development of a comprehensive fund development plan. So the long story short is that they're beating the bricks to make sure that their vision can last. We can move back. No, ma'am, I mean, go. Just take it forward. I think it'll repeat. Oh, we didn't set up repeat. So just hit start again. Yeah, and the next one. I want to leave it on this one because long and short, that's where we come to. I have a few notes that I want to just share with you, if I may. The passion of this program is to make sure children are becoming well-rounded individuals throughout the community, helping them to make positive decisions. Again, here we are with the Positive Action Program for them to make positive decisions. And positive decisions, again, will create positive actions. The organization seeks to be that gap to help them not become a juvenile custody child. That's a huge term. The main goal is being on the ground to serve a child's specific needs. They will do pre- and post surveys again with the juvenile court to let them know, to let the court know that you're really making an impact on that participant. Again, to back up to the beginning, the mission is to provide quality services that reduce the number of children entering state custody and enhancing the quality of life in the 21st century through individualized services with a therapeutic foundation. The vision, to dramatically improve the quality of life for children and families by enhancing their ability to function within the home, school, and community settings. And again, all of this comes down to youth making positive decisions. Just a brief aside, I was at a function over, I guess that was off of Charles Davis, that library over there. And a little kid was coming across the street. Now, he had to be 12. And the old man and me came out. He had his pants down almost around his ankles, and he had a cigarette in his hand. And I simply said, I mean, as courteously as I could, he said, I said, man, you don't really want that cigarette in your hand, do you? And he just looked at me and said, you don't know me. I mean, and that shut me down. With Project Return, and this is the last aside, I brought some funders down here, Cal Turner. This has been many years ago. And when we came in the front door, they did not have money for a new organization for that year. But they said, let's come down there. So 2 of their board members came in. When we got here, a Metro police car was bringing in a juvenile, handcuffed behind him. We came in, and then they saw 2 kids in holding. One was the lockdown animal. He couldn't stop moving. The other was petrified, sitting on a bench, not moving. We then came down with Mr. Campbell, Charlie Poo-Poo, Judge Green, and had a little 10-minute meeting. And when we came out with 3 years of funding, with them just seeing the impact. So with that, I'll stop talking, even though I've got all of this paper in front of me, and hopefully it'll answer some of your questions.
I had one. You had mentioned something about you have a tracking system in place beyond the 12 months.
when we speak of that, it's just the same tracking that we will do with the court during the grant period. And obviously, we can go online with FOIL if they enter the system, enter the adult system. But the point is to see, not just to see where they are at the end of the duration of this grant, because we're obviously going to work with juveniles, far beyond that period. So, I mean, it won't go on infinitum, and there has not been a determination how long that will be. But you want to know where that child ended up to make sure that your programming was effective.
I have a question about the programming. What does that look like? So I'm John Smith, and I'm coming into your program. I get a referral, I assume, from the court. I come see y'all. What does it look like?
The first thing that will happen is they will do the ACEs survey that we had there, and then the COPE inventory.
Okay.
And those are not intrusive, Now, what will happen is, the process that will take place is you get the referral. The organization then contacts probation and parole, wherever the referral came from, to get the background information that is allowed.
Sure.
Then you have to get the permission of the parent or guardian for them to participate. Then the surveys will be done. They see where they are. And at that point, you will know where that child needs to be seen. Whether it be, and by the way, the community part of it is called community-based enrichment. So where does that child need to be seen? Does it need to be seen in juvenile? Does it need to be seen at their home? And that will be determined there. And that will be individualized, because all of them, they're not opting to just fit everybody into this one barrel and say that they need to be seen here, you need to come to me, or we need to pick you up. So it will be evaluated through those surveys. What are this child's needs? Because the needs may be different. If, a lot of times the child may come in being the caregiver to a grandparent if mom and dad are incarcerated, which is the case, or they're separated, or they don't know who dad is, or mom. So it's going to be based on what that child's individual needs are.
I have a question. You guys adopted the positive action program as your evidence-based program, right?
Yes.
And you mentioned it was based out of North Carolina, and you said they had a lot of positive results. Can you talk about some of those results?
I don't know them all specifically. I know that they use some of the same surveys that we have put into the program. The overarching commonality there is doing what I just explained, setting the program to whatever that child's individual needs are. And I mean, that's the one unifying. And so the positive action program is something that they've already adopted, New Vision has already adopted. And we didn't just say that's it in this program. And by the way, their program wasn't called Positive Action Program, it was just Positive Action, So they've used that with a great deal of success thus far. And so it's saying, if awarded, there's going to be a setup period to say, this is exactly how we're going to go. And we've also listed like 4 different avenues that they could take. Did that come close to answering your question? Because, again, just like every child is not going to need the same thing, that program that is on paper right now may not, when the first 5 kids come in, because they're not all, and by the way, again, all these kids aren't going to come in on day 1. Or you say the program starts in 30 days, they're not going to come in on 30 days, they're going to come in staggered. So one of the things that they know from history is that you can't just, you're not going to get 65 kids in one day, just like a school year would be. So it's going to have to be individualized to the kids. But these are the tools that they have at their discretion to use.
So basically, the 12-week curriculum, you guys adopted it from
Yes.
Positive Action. Okay.
Yeah.
And they may not, all the kids might not end up in that.
Right, correct.
Right, so this is, okay. And the other services, so you basically come in, you assess, who is it, Joe Smith, John Smith, I don't forget what I called him.
Right.
But comes in, you assess them, you're basically customizing programs and services based on need. Are all those services and one of them could be, one of those options could be the positive action
Yes.
plan. What, are all those contained within New Visions, or?
They're all
or
within New
you
Vision.
farm out? Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing to be farmed out. Nothing to be farmed out. And, you know, one of the things we were talking about, Judge Calloway earlier, you know, she did an interview not too long ago, and she said, you know, that many of the children have experienced major trauma in their lives, and that locking them up and many times can make the matter even worse. And she said, I quote, "It's very difficult for us to house children aged 12 and under. Combining them with older youth who have done some serious offenses, it can be counterproductive for having a child come into a detention center." She went on, locking them up is not always the answer. We have to do better as a job as a society to figure out what the source of the problem is and fixing it, she said. And so what we intend here with New Vision, with the Positive Action Program, is really being that gap. It's
So for younger kids?
Yes.
That was one of my questions, the
Yes,
age.
yes, 12 to 17. And, you know, she used the words restorative and rehabilitative is what is needed more so than anything else.
Is this a group program?
Yes.
Okay, so positive action, that would be done in a group setting?
It would be done in a group setting if needed.
Assuming, yeah.
Assuming. And again, it's real important to note that just like we said, that 65 are not going to come in one day, you know, on day, on day one. So they're going to come in and they're going to be evaluated basically on those ACEs. You know, the adverse childhood experiences. What's going on in this kid's life? This kid may be okay for a group, but this one may not. And so the upside to this type of program is say we're going to do whatever we need to do. And one of the things that they're not doing is saying, hey, let me give you some false number. Let me say we're going to work with 150 kids. That's not realistic. That's not going to happen. Because if you're talking about being able to go to the child's home, the family, because the family may need to take part in that if the family is part of that problem. And again, when they sign off and give permission in the beginning, that is their saying, I'm going to participate. And so if you may do it at churches, you know, if that works better for that child. So again, it's not like the beginning of the school year.
Right.
Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering about. Yeah, scale up is how
Right.
Okay, now what kind of reports would be coming to the court during this?
Progress reports.
Progress reports?
Yes.
Are they monthly reports? Are they just?
They hadn't really determined, but you're probably looking at no more than 90 days. No more than 90 days. But in talking with Dr. Malone, again, when they, you know, they get the go-ahead from juvenile court that this is going to be a reality, that's when they will then firm down to, you know, when that new program administrator comes in, that the team will sit down and say, what are we going to start with? Because, again, that phrase I used earlier, just-in-time information. Suppose they start with this format, reporting over here at 60 days. That may not work. You may need 30 days. But again, do you say it before you've even met the first child?
So it's individualized
Yes,
for the child?
it's individualized. And again, because you're dealing with a manageable number. As opposed to, you know, when I first went with Project Return, I thought, you know, oh God, we want to serve, you know, 2,000 children here. That wasn't realistic. You know, we couldn't make an impact on 2,000.
Let me ask you a question, sir. Talk to me about the use of the wireless instrument, the youth level of service case management.
Right. Those are just evidence-based surveys that have been used that may be used. Again, may be.
Okay, and that really goes to the heart of my question, because I'm familiar with
Right.
the instrument. I also know that there's, it's a copyrighted instrument that costs money to
Yes,
to
it
use and
does.
administer. And so, my question was, if the intent was, that needs assessment, that YLS needs assessment was going to be administered to every youth that's
No.
required, or just
Because
certain
that-
ones?
that would be
And how would you make that determination?
That would be cost prohibitive, for one, and basically what we were trying to tell the court, CPF, we were trying to say that we're aware of what is out here for us to use.
Right.
Out of all the things that mentioned, that's the only one with the cost
Right.
associated with it. Yeah. And so what we were saying, that suppose we ran into the problem child over here, and the benefits of that survey match, then it would be time to make that.
Okay.
And no, again, within the budget, no cost was associated to that.
I noticed that.
Yeah, through the application. But it's sort of like saying, we're going to do whatever it takes. And one of the things that New Vision is saying, and they're humbly saying that, look, we're willing to say that, again, with that just in time, if we're doing something and it's not working, we're good enough to say we need to alter this. And you're able to do that between those reports, because they want to be the most effective that they can be as well. So, did that come close?
It did.
Okay.
Thank you.
2 minute mark.
I'm a program guy, so outside of the 12-week curriculum, 90 minutes per week, how much time will actually be spent with the youth?
Again, it's youth dependent. How much time does that child need?
So you got one FTE devoted to spend
Right.
that amount of time with
Right.
65 youth.
And that project, again, the administrator, just within capacity, that person doesn't have to deal with 65 kids in week one. So you're going to have staggered entry. And so that person, unlike some of the other people that from New Visions and New Visions Academy, the charter school, that will be piping in, you're not having to deal with the 65 all at one time. So again, if you have a child that is best that the family and the child are participant, that may be done at that family home. But then you've got the church over there. So it's really going to be child dependent. And I think that's the positive part of this, What can best be done to help that individual child? Their record over 16 plus years too tells you that they're willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that they're making a difference in the child. At the end of the day, New Visions didn't look at the positive action program saying, this is another notch in our belt, another grant to help our overall programming. This is about these kids.
1 minute mark.
Got to keep the kids out of the adult system. And again, it's that to prevent the juvenile offenders of today from becoming the adult offenders of tomorrow. And again, the numbers speak loudly to it.
Final question?
And I didn't go through all of the statistical numbers because you know better than we know what the stats are. Children referred to the juvenile court. I think of the state. The most recent 2014 was 9.55%. So you got a lot of kids coming through here, and they just want to make an impact.
Excellent. Thank you for your presentation this morning.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome.
Go ahead, Cynthia.
I am Cynthia Whetstone, and I do the finance for STARS.
I'm James Bush, and I am the Program Director of Youth Overcoming Drug Abuse.
And I'm Roger Dinwiddie. I'm the CEO at STARS.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Right there.
You're up, James.
So we have the floor? All right. So again, my name is James Bush. I'm the program director of Youth Overcoming Drug Abuse. We run a substance abuse facility treating adolescents from the ages of 13 to 18 years old suffering from substance abuse, and we offer gender-specific treatment in the Nashville community. So our purpose, which is the main purpose of what we do, is to reduce substance abuse as well as continual involvement with the juvenile justice system. Next slide, please. Okay. So African Americans in the Davis County community, they comprise of 27% of the content, but they make up 51% of the probationers in the area, as opposed to their Caucasian counterparts, who are the majority of Davidson County, but they comprise 36% of the probationers. Now, along with that, we've identified that from the Tia Martinez experiment, as well as others who've done research in this field, that 40 to 50% of those who are incarcerated suffer from some type of mental health or substance abuse services. And we also have noticed as well that those who suffer from mental health as well as substance abuse services have high rates of recidivism. Next slide, please. So we provide evidence-based treatment. What that means is that we utilize methodologies such as cognitive behavioral therapy, motivational interviewing, and portions of adolescent community reinforcement approach. Now, what we hope to do is what we believe that this can do is increase graduation rates, reduce recidivism, as well as provide access to community resources in the area, breaking those barriers where there once was before. Next slide, please. The size of the impact. We believe that we can serve over 60 adolescents in our communities. We believe that it will increase graduation rates when done correctly, reduction in recidivism, as well, again, as access to community resources. And this falls in line with the state's initiative to not just alcohol addiction services, but a co-occurring model, working with all types of complex needs, such as health needs, financial needs, educational needs. And we believe that as we continue to decrease those barriers, it offers opportunities where there once was not before. How will we evaluate our program? It's my favorite part because I'm somewhat of a nerd. So, we use Teen Addiction Severity Index, which is a 7-model plan. It measures chemical, social, employment, as well as peer group, school, as well as psychiatric. So it gives us a snapshot of that kid's life, and we utilize that tool at the time of assessment as well at the exit. So through that process, we can measure the change to see what has happened. Have they used in the past month? Have they used in the past 2 months? Are they spending more time trying to get high? Are they engaging in treatment processes? Are they doing things such as NA or AA, the recovery activities to help them stay clean or to reduce their drug use, as well as the legal portions and propositions with that? Do they need legal representation? Family portions? Who are their peer groups? And somewhat in the addiction community, we have this saying that if you're in the barbershop long enough, you're going to get a haircut. So if you're around kids that smoke a lot of weed or around kids who do a lot of drugs or so, more than likely you will do that as well. So creating that opportunity for them to find new peer groups, that's done through the peer recovery programs, and that's done through new associations, some that are met in treatment and some that we direct through other types of programs that we partner with. Next slide, please.
Our business financial model, we are asking for $50,000. The total cost of our program that James has talked about is $283,000. So that's about 17% that we're asking for funding for to help supplement what we're already doing with that program. The majority of those funds are spent on staffing. 74% goes to staffing. The rest goes to other minor expenses we have, our insurance, our occupancy costs for the space. We provide bus passes for kids who cannot get to the facility. We'll provide healthy snacks in the afternoon as they're there for their sessions, after school, to make sure they've got something as we're doing that. And so that's what the majority of those funds go for. We have several partners in this program that help fund it. We are recipient of Metro Nashville United Way funding. We have several foundations that support us, private foundations, and we have grant funding. We have 3 different grants from the Department of Mental Health Substance Abuse Services from the state of Tennessee. We also have a federal grant through the Health and Human Services Office of Women's Health that helps support the program. So we have a lot of diverse funding streams going into this. All the costs of this program are reoccurring costs. So if any one funding stream goes away, we still have those costs. And the good news is because we are diverse in our funding streams, if something goes away, then either we scale back a little bit until we can find a replacement funding stream or we move things around some. Last fall, we had that happen with our girls program. The primary funding source of that went away, and we were able to secure additional funding from another source to keep the program going, so it didn't impact the program at all. And so that's what we would continue to do if something were to happen to some of our funding.
Next slide, please. So, the overall impact. We believe that our impact is the quality of life for the Davidson County community. Research shows from justicepolicy.org that cost of treatment versus incarceration is 1 to 5. For every $4,000 that you spend in treatment, as opposed to the $20,000 that you would spend incarcerated. Those are some of the things that we've seen, as well as the opportunities for young men and women who wouldn't necessarily have graduated high school. This is an impetus to help them with that process, maybe not just with us, but referring them to a residential facility where they can earn the rest of their credits, and then also go on from there and possibly enter the armed services. Those are opportunities that might not be realized or recognized elsewhere. Clients report increased connection to people, places, and experiences, increased healthy behaviors, and reduce the rates of reoffenses. We are one of the only few agencies in this area, along with maybe one other, that offers this type of program. One of the biggest things that I enjoy about the program is that you have certain agencies, they do work with adolescents. But how many know that when you have an insurance deductible that's about $10,000 or $12,000, many families can't afford that. And so that's a barrier. That's a barrier that many families face on a continual basis. The kids go to school, and for whatever reasons, and also too, we don't look at it as just a substance abuse. Substance abuse is just a symptom of other issues that are going on with the children in their homes, which could be possible sexual assault, which could be possible, some of the horrors that they see on a continual basis, abuse, neglect. That's ACEs. ACEs has taught us that. And so what we offer is an opportunity for them to get in our program. Some of them, they don't come from necessarily substance abuse reasons. When we have the assessment, sometimes it's through maybe a truancy assessment that needs to be done. And then you'll have a young lady say, oh, when we're working with that Teen Addiction Severity Index, and they'll say, there's in the peer and family portion, it's like question, the lighter question. And have you been sexually assaulted by any member in your family in the past month? They'll say no. What about 3 months? No, but it did happen last summer. And then that opens the door for us to have continual conversation about other things. So through this program, we recognize that the immediate needs of our clients, adolescents, some of them need sexual assault treatment, trauma-informed care. But how are they going to get it? Especially when there's a lot of barriers, maybe language barriers, financial barriers or so. Through our program, we've been able to maintain a network of linking them to necessary resources. So now, for instance, we are partnering with the Sexual Assault Center. They come once a month, not only to talk to the young ladies, but to talk to the males too. Because how many know that they need that information as well? That no is not a negotiation. It just means no. But some of them don't know that. So, next slide, please.
James, let me make a quick comment. We also are going through accreditation right now. We're in the process of CARF accreditation, just so you know that. So we're somewhere close in the near future of getting through that process.
We're close. We're close.
We're close.
We're close. So I have a wonderful staff. Myself, the program director, Kara Moody Dunn, the Master's Counseling Clinical Primary Counselor, Paris Brown. She's also Master's Clinical Mental Health Counselor, alumni, and Lauren Dixon, Licensed Clinical Social Worker. She's our clinical supervisor. And so all these are experienced. They've worked with this population. Some have had adult experience as well with the Next Door. Life cares, the list goes on and on. So yeah. Next slide, please. So, other funding, what is needed to launch this? We already launched and ready to go. You know, I mean, it goes without saying. Our services are offered year-round. We don't believe that substance abuse takes a break, so why should we? In the summer, it's funny because in the summer, and I guess sometimes there's pockets after school has started when all of a sudden those assessments start kicking up very high, or when there's not a lot of school engagement activity and they have a lot of time on their hands and they need something to do, and then so, I'll get into this, or I'll get into that, or I'll go ride in this car, or I'll go take this car, and the stories that we hear are just amazing. So, we can provide semi-annual reports, and this is consistent with what we've already been doing. Again, utilizing the Teen Addiction Severity Index, as well as the Socrates AD, and we're looking for recidivism rates, attachment to pro-social behaviors such as work skills, job employment, things along those natures, as well as, family involvement as possible, seeing what's going on there. And that's one thing I didn't highlight as far as yet, but we do have contact with the family members. Sometimes it's very limited, but they do pick up the phone at times, or when they are running late or so, they will call my HIP line as well, too. So that's always good to know. Next slide, please. And I think we mentioned also on slide 6 about the budgeting program sustainability, which is that we do have diverse funds, so sometimes we do have to scale back in other areas, but we have been successful so far to be able to find other funding sources to help us through those moments. And so, thankfully, I can say that we haven't had to halt anything or anything like that. I mean, and since 2011, since we've been our inception, yes.
And James, on that last comment, just so it's clear, we've always raising money 6 months in advance. So I know it says it, but it's just really important because even though we're in FY July to June, we are always looking down the road trying to make sure we cover our bases. So if anything does happen, we've got some time to adjust and make changes if we need to. And we thank you.
Tell us about the yoga sessions.
Yes, it's 20 sessions.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's 20 sessions. So they meet from 3:30 to 6:30 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. We take a break off Thursday because some of our clients have juvenile recovery court, and we definitely do not want them to have an FTA on us. So you're not going to blame that on us. And then at that, we participate in the recovery court as well because we're able to speak well about them if they're coming, if they're not coming, and it's added benefit. Because when we have the recovery court and they are adding that other part of connection, as well as us, as well as the family, that leads to very favorable opportunities. And we just recently witnessed that because we've had a young man who's graduated high school who probably wouldn't have before that. So, yeah.
Is STAR an acronym for something?
It used to be. It used to be. We eliminated all the names, when all the words. It used to be students taking a right stand, but the problem was everybody we work with isn't a student, and so we changed that several years ago and just stuck with STARS. And STARS Nashville is the corporate entity here, the 501c3.
Oh, okay.
Tell us about that certification process you referred to a few minutes ago. I'm not familiar with.
Well, it's the commission, and so we've been going through a lengthy process for about 2 years evaluating every policy, every practice, every protocol, and we've been really blessed and fortunate to have some of our partners also who have consulted with us before we began this process, like the Next Door Park Center, to spend time with their teams that have done this, that helped us pave the way for what we were really getting into when we do this. And so we've got now manual after manual after manual of every process, so we'll be submitting everything to them for their review of us, and so they'll come and do their due diligence with us as soon as all of that's submitted. So James has been doing on treatment. We have a program called Enhanced Student Assistance, which is a school-based program, which is also mental health, and those folks will be also, when CARF comes to evaluate, they'll be doing site visits at schools and treatment to make sure we're doing what we say we are, as well as evaluating all of our financial policies and compliance policies and all those things as well. So when this is done, one of the things that we hope is at some point down the road, we'll be able to also bill for insurance, but one thing that's different about us that we want to make sure we never do is not serve somebody because they don't have insurance.
Right.
So that's been the main presence of our board on this, the main premise under which we've operated for the entire 2+ years now has been never turn anybody away. Yeah. And, one thing that didn't get mentioned on this, and James, you can elaborate if you choose, but we've also had parents who are not Davidson County residents who have also sought out opportunities for their young men, primarily men at this point, I think,
yes,
to be involved in treatment that don't live in Davidson County but need the experience of actually experiencing something other than their suburban community, which has really been fantastic to have some, well, I'm speaking way too much out of school, but that have had experience with their kids coming to be involved with other kids from a completely different demographic, which has been extremely powerful in terms of seeing what it's really like to be in part of an IOP that is in Davidson County. So it's really been a great experience and a very positive thing as well. But our primary service, obviously, here is with Davidson County, and obviously we couldn't do what we do without the court, and so the judge and Kathy and everybody's been tremendously supportive of us in terms of making this possible.
Yeah, I couldn't have said anything better.
Walk me through the flow. So a kid gets referred to y'all. What's the first thing that happens?
First thing that I get that call from the family member, and like you mentioned, the TASI. However, what I've learned about doing evaluations and assessment is that you just don't base it on one self-report.
Right.
You try to get in contact with the probation officer because I want to hear what they're saying. Then I want to hear what the parents are saying. What are you seeing? And then I'm listening to the kid. And there's a lot of different tools that are based within the TASI. There's a lot of different clinical skills that we can find out what's going on. Then we use urinary drug screens as well, too. Okay. Because sometimes the kid says that, hey, maybe I haven't smoked in 2 months. So, really? Okay, really? That's great. And what's in your system? Well, cocaine's in your system. That's an issue. It doesn't take that long to get out. So that's the TASI. That's the first wave of it. The next wave of it is that we go through the intake and orientation process. And at that point where we're able to discuss, this is what YOTA is, this is what we'll do, this is how we'll work with you. If you have scheduling context, call us. We will work with you. So, again, we're trying to decrease the barriers to having treatment. It's one thing that I've been a part of other facilities is that where you miss a certain amount of days and then you're out and everything. But we understand that the needs of our community, they supersede that. Sometimes things do happen. A lot of our kids, they get to us via the public busing system. Right. They don't drive. They don't have Range Rovers in the parking lot. They don't have Chevy Caprices or anything like that. They walk, Nikes, Jordans. That's their mode of transportation. And so what we try to do is work with them. Sometimes we have kids that come from Whites Creek High School. Well, Whites Creek gets off a little bit later than our program begins. So what we have to do is we have to make amenability, we have to be amenable for them to be able to attend. And so we let them know that you may have to come maybe an extra session or 2 or so, but you can still come, and it won't be counted against you. So then we have the assessment, we have the orientation, the intake portion, then we get to the first day of treatment. By the 3rd session, we're looking to create a treatment plan with them that is tailor-made to them, to their strengths or so. If I want to stop, I want to reduce. How are we going to reduce use? How are we going to
Is this one-on-one?
That's one-on-one.
Okay.
Got to be.
That's one-on-one, but then the sessions are grouped.
The sessions are grouped, yes. And so we have by the 3rd session, we look to create the treatment plan. By maybe the 10th session, we have a transition plan because they're halfway through, and we want to see them through the end. But so how are things coming? What does it look like? What do we need to strengthen that? What can we do? When you finish, what is it going to look like? Are you going to go get a job? Are you going to play football? Are you going to go box? Things like that. And so by the 20th session, then we are doing the discharge summary, aftercare plan. We offer them a recovery group that we have at STAR's facility on Mondays at 4:30 p.m., as well as we offer them other opportunities within the community that they can take advantage of for them. That's in their local community. And then after that, we do the client satisfaction survey. we ask the parents, we do a parental survey, and maybe 30, sometimes 45 days, because it's hard to reach with them. You know, they're so transient at points. We'll do a follow-up. Are you still clean? What's going on? How's things going? And then we generally, a lot of times, we get a lot of kids that call back or come and back and see us, and so, or just happen to be throughout the building. So that's in a nutshell. That's the
Is it a
program.
closed group, or so the 20 sessions?
No.
Do you, so you just, kids kind of.
Kids keep coming
How
in.
many kids do you serve?
We serve, well, last year we served about 64.
Okay.
Yes. We try to keep our groups maybe small, and why I say that is because we have one counselor to maybe 6 clients. And so you still have that intimate attention
have to have
so that
individuated.
they won't get lost in the shuffle, that one kid or can't go in the corner and go to sleep. Everybody participates. If you don't participate, you don't get credit for the day. It's just what we do.
Got it.
Yes.
I failed to add one.
Snacks or something for them? Water, snacks, juice, something to keep them.
Well, according to our adolescent community reinforcement approach, it's beneficial in the first 15 minutes to provide a snack to them after they've been in class for about nearly 7 to 8 hours that day. So that's one of the things we definitely do. We definitely do.
That helps.
I failed to answer something very important when you asked me about CARF, and I didn't say this. We are state licensed, so I just want to make sure I said that. CARF's just an add-on deal. I just want to make sure I
Big
said that.
add-on. It's a huge add-on deal.
What I took from what you were telling me is one of the biggest advantages if you receive that certification. It's going to enable you to bill insurance.
It will, at some point, yes.
All right.
So we understand that treatment goes extends beyond the 20 sessions,
Yes, sir.
the one-on-one count. What other, and one of your desired goals is to access to community resources. What are some of those community resources that would?
Well, we work in the Youth Opportunity Center, and so OASIS is the agency that is to the right of us, I like to say. And so we have things like OASIS Transitions. We have the jobs program that we've been able to refer our clients to. It's one thing when you can show a kid that they can get $20 very quickly for just going and being a part of a mentorship program. And so they like that, and they have their own little check, and it's funny because they'll go upstairs and they'll have the checks just laid out there, and then that's theirs, you know, and it's an awesome thing to show them. And then we can go from there. When we have multiple businesses in the area, such as a Burger King or a Sonic or anything like that, they've been able to participate in them. So we're offering them opportunities. We have some affiliations with some sports activities in the area as well too. Now, if our kids are diligent enough, they would be able to get the benefit of it. Takes a little pride in the poking though, but it's an opportunity as well. So we do have various amounts of things that we can do. Also, we like to bring some of the activities in-house. Last year we had the Metro Arts Council, and it's one of the funniest things. It is funny when you see a young individual who come to you and you know these have about a couple gun charges, and they're doing yoga. They're laying sprawled out in Turner Common Sea doing yoga. And it's the weirdest thing I've ever seen, but it's some awesome thing because it's like you can see the change. You can see a difference. That's not something that they necessarily would not have done on their own, and you know that. But it's amazing, though. And so that, as well as theatrics and arts, where they get to act out positions such as, what would you say? What would you do in the possibility of a job interview? You know, what stance will you take? How will you project your voice? What confidence will you offer? So we've been able to bring those activities in-house. Yes.
And you mentioned something about gender-specific programming.
Yes.
Are the groups gender-specific, or what does that entail?
Well, that entails, so one thing we've recognized is that it's very hard for a young lady to possibly get treatment and to be able to work this process when she has somebody hollering at her or being abusive to her, verbally, that is. And so what we did was we have a counselor that works with the young females, or those who identify with females, as well as the males. Okay. Now, with that, it offers the opportunities for them to concentrate when they want to be able to utilize things such as dialectical behavioral therapy. We're able to do that, as well as some type of processing. I'm not allowed in those groups, as you can possibly imagine, but a lot takes place. That's where we have found out some of the things that are happening in the community. From that process, we found that maybe 70 to 80% of the young women who were referred to us had experienced some type of sexual assault. And I think that because of it being specific because that it was exclusive and that they had the opportunity to be heard at that moment. I think it's an awesome thing.
All right, we're coming to the final closure here. Any other final questions? All right, well, thanks, stars.
We appreciate y'all.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you, guys, for your job.
Yeah, I get for all.
Else to your panel.
I am Kathy Gurley, and I'm the CEO of You Have the Power.
I'm Darlene Williams, and I'm the operations manager.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having us here today. As you probably know, You Have the Power is an organization that has been serving Nashville and the Tennessee area for 25 years. Most of our programming is victim-oriented, and as such, we do a lot of things with victim advocacy. But a few years ago, we were looking at and being overwhelmed, as I think all of us were, with the statistics that were coming out of the juvenile violence in especially metro area. And we decided that we needed to strengthen our twofold approach. Not only do we need to provide advocacy and help for the victims, we needed to get our head around helping the juveniles understand that there is another route to solving their anger and their frustration. And a lot of this is because we feel that if people grow up around violence, that's all that they see, that's all that they know. Our timing on this turned into be fortunate because it was simultaneously when the state government was really pushing out the ACEs studies that had happened. And so we became very embedded with them in trying to form this curriculum to help the youth redirect their anger and frustrations with the ACEs. The impact curriculum is based on, again, adapted on our adult victim impact curriculum, which we have been serving in TDOC for the last 10 years, but we wanted to bring it in to make it work for the children. And we feel that our juvenile program is definitely aligned with the metro schools trying to incorporate social emotional learning. Our program is designed not only to educate but also empower. This is the second slide. Yes, thank you. The potential improvements to examine cultural mores, accepted labels, and to just develop healthy communications, a means to own their own experiences. The curriculum incorporates, as I said, ACEs, informed approaches, as well as best practices and evidence-based materials from national research. So one of the ways that this curriculum is that the participants will find out is how to understand how ACEs can produce toxic stress and damages the brain, understand how to build and increase resiliency skills, understand and identify tools that can aid in achieving a healthier life, and to learn to develop effective communication skills. Now, one of the things, the terms that will be used that is being used in this curriculum is we combine accountability with support and repetition. Each of the participants will understand what exactly is expected of them. There will be a code of conduct that they will have to sign a contract with us. They will understand that what they will receive out of this program and what they can expect us to help provide them with. The behavior contract says that they understand that there's no one else to blame for their behavior, accept the consequences, and avoid behaviors that are aggressive inside. Another technique that we were using is that there's a responsibility pledge that would be read by one of the participants at the beginning of each session. That pledge includes things like I will respect others and their opinions even if I don't agree. I will recognize harmful actions, apologize for harmful and disrespectful actions. And I think one of the key things, again, is I can't change what happened yesterday, but I can change my behavior today and tomorrow. And what we have found in our research that this type of approach, which is, again, both accountability but not necessarily strongly punitive like has been done in the past, would help produce better results.
All right, if we'll go to the next slide. In terms of the impact, what we're asking for in this grant cycle is funding for 6 workshops. Because we're so intensive with these workshops, there's a maximum of 12 youth per workshop, so that's 72 participants for this grant cycle. Conservative estimates are that for each participant in the workshop, they will touch a minimum of 8 individuals in their circle, whether that's family or friends. We think that's a fairly conservative estimate, because when you start looking at ripples of people that you impact, the number could be significantly higher, but we think we're comfortable with 8 on the minimum side. Statistics show that the juveniles who start offending before or around age 12 tend to likely continue offending. So if we can get to the kids early and start teaching them to change their behaviors, their thought patterns, preventing this on the front end is going to be a lot better in terms of keeping them out of the system and hopefully, keeping them from becoming a repeat offender and being put in the system for the long term, like we unfortunately find so many people. Once they get into the system, they tend to repeat. It represents a small investment on the front end, not only in lives saved potentially down the line, especially if we start looking at youth who get into the gun violence with the homicides and things. If we can save lives, that's on that end, but we can also save money. Because once you start looking at a couple of slides later, we're going to talk about how much it takes in Tennessee to incarcerate an adult. So you're talking about savings both in human, their lives and money, long term. We'll flip to the next one, outcomes. The outcomes we're going to be looking at are going to be measured through pre and post surveys. We're going to talk to them on the front end to see what they know or don't know, as the case may be. And then at the end, we'll again do a post survey to see how much they've actually accumulated from a knowledge standpoint. What is sunk in and what have they attained in terms of knowing the certain things such as accountability, what's sexual assault, what are the different terms that we're going to be teaching them in these different classes. We will be taking attendance because we obviously, if you don't attend, you don't get the knowledge. So we're going to make them accountable for their attendance and for participating, so they will get a certificate for that. And then at the end, because these are individual workshops, rather than waiting to the end of the grant cycle to give everything to juvenile court, we're going to get all of this data together and at the end of each workshop be able to present it to the court. This is what's happened with this workshop. And for the folks that are going to be involved in that and evaluating what's going on with that particular workshop, we can sit down and say, okay, maybe do we need to tweak something for the next workshop and maybe change a couple of things going forward. For the business model, the program cost overall for the 6 workshops, we'll go to the next slide. The total program cost will be $50,000. What we're asking for in this grant is the $32,419, which will cover the fees for facilitators, supplies, and our salaries to manage and handle all of the workshops. We already have received a $10,000 grant from the Memorial Foundation to train the facilitators, up to 20. So that's already been done. It's just a matter of getting that set up more than likely this summer. And then the venues, we anticipate that those funds would be in kind, that those would be donations, whether it's community centers, local churches, the metro schools, if we can get into some of the school programming, maybe as part of an after-school program or perhaps during a study hall. So that funding would be in kind, but the total budget for the program is the 50. But like I say, 32 for the actual supplies and facilitators and running it. And then the next slide, the impact and return on investment. As Kathy indicated, we are a brand new program. This fall, we've trained facilitators with Epic Girl, who is currently in Hillsborough High School, and Stacia and her crew are currently implementing this program not as a standalone workshop, but within their whole curriculum throughout the semester.
They've incorporated it into it.
Yeah, and so we're looking forward to seeing at the end of the semester what sort of results they have had, and she's already told me that they will be in a second high school in addition to Hillsborough this coming fall. So they're already implementing it on their side in a different manner than we, are talking about in terms of a workshop. But going back to what we were talking about before, the cost of caring for a prisoner in Tennessee in 2015 was $23,468. And when the prisoners are released, if they can find employment, they can expect to earn 40% less than an individual in the workforce who has not been in the criminal justice system. So if we can get in the front end of this and keep people out of the system, we're saving money on that side, plus, again, we're saving lives, which I think is probably more important, obviously, to keep people from being hurt or killed. But if we can get these kids and these youth, get them to think and to learn, it can definitely change their lives and the lives of the folks that are around them, to instill these values and this knowledge.
Next slide. Year of the Power is a very small agency. We have 3 full-time employees. 2 of us are sitting here. The third one is stuck in New York in the snow. Or she would have been here today, too. We rely on and do a lot of collaboration with other agencies. This curriculum, while it was developed and overseen by us, was actually the work of a committee that consisted of representatives from Monroe Harding, Children's Services, the University School, the district attorneys, the Board of Correction, and Juvenile Court, and the Sexual Assault Center. And that is how we can be a small agency, but we combine with other agencies to help enhance and just add things to their presentations. And it's been a successful marriage for 25 years, and we hope to continue it. It also allows us to see social issues as they are bubbling under, and hopefully can help contain them to increase a quality of life. Some of our other presentations, and one of the things in developing these curriculums and looking at different things that impact our community, none of these social issues are standalone. Domestic violence falls into child abuse, falls into trafficking, falls into bullying, and those are all standalone things that we do. But by weaving them together with other things, we think we can have more powerful impact.
Yeah, the timeline is next. As we said, we've already trained a handful of facilitators with Epic Girl, but this summer, through the Memorial Grant funding, we plan on having a big 2-day training session. We can do up to about 20 facilitators in this training session, and we plan to do that this summer because we're hoping the folks that we would like to train as facilitators would be people on the front lines already working with this group of individuals, social workers, school counselors, resource officers, others that are, at these agencies, get them trained in the curriculum, and that way, once they're trained, they can use it not only with our workshops, but they can use it in other means of putting this curriculum out into the community. Given the application and approval process and the fact that we're dealing with students that are 12 to 17, we figure working these workshops within the metro schools calendar year, August to May, is probably going to be when we would actually do these workshops. Probably 3 in the fall, 3 in the spring. But that's, until we actually get to the scheduling, that's a guesstimate of how we would actually schedule these. And again, I'm just going to repeat that since they're going to be done independently, we would be giving the results to the court after each one is done, so that we wouldn't be waiting until the end of the grant cycle for us to start looking at the results and how to maybe change some things or implement some new things within the program. And for the sustainability, because we are training facilitators, it's a train-the-trainer approach, they can just continue to spread this curriculum out. It's kind of, again, the ripple effect. Once you've dropped that pebble, you can continue to move out and impact people that way. And at a certain point in the future, we will turn around and do another training facility session, get some more people involved from a facilitator standpoint. For the material cost, when we do programs like this, we always attempt to get grants, of course, but we also have donors. And if we can get funding through the Federal Victims of Crime Act funding, we would do that as well. So we're constantly looking for different means of actually funding the programming to keep it going. So,
in conclusion, I'd like to add that we have presented this program to the juvenile court. They were very, very enthusiastic about it, and it was a lack of funding that we could not implement it. So I was actually very excited when I saw that this opportunity may come up. I think that this program dovetails nicely with the current court approach to not just incarcerating kids, but being more proactive in getting them into society to make a positive contribution. And actually, in just the last week, the need for this became even more reinforced to me when we worked with the Crimes Victim Rights Week program, and there's a children's garden in Centennial Park where they put the names of juveniles who have been murdered in the past year, and this year 23 names are going to be added. That is one of the highest. And the other unfortunate part of that is many of these juveniles died at the hands of juveniles. So, I mean, I know I'm preaching to the choir here. You all understand the need. But that's how we feel about this program. Any questions?
I was just now what other activities or services are you looking for this program to provide?
We do to conduct these 8-week groups, to conduct 6 of them, or no, 8.
yeah, there's 6.
6. Yeah. So they would go over 6 groups of 12 students each.
And it's
what would they be doing?
What would they be doing? Yeah, the curriculum, we haven't had it printed yet because, like that, but, because we wanted to do a couple of test runs, like with Stacia's group. It's all girls, so so there may be some fine tuning that we do. Well, if we're just dealing with boys, if we're just dealing with girls, if we have a mixed group, we may want to do some things with the facilitator. But the subjects that will be held is culture, which is just learning to respect and accept other people's differences. Accountability, and that goes with you can't change what you did, you have to acknowledge that you did it, but you can change moving forward. We will talk about boundaries and that people need to adhere to and that should have been adhered on them with domestic violence and child abuse. We will discuss bullying. We will discuss connections to the community and how they can connect, because that's another thing that in doing the research, a lot of times these children will latch onto something because they feel no connection. And we all want to be a part of something and feel connected and important to it. And frankly, if a gang is the one that's going to give that to you, that's where you're going to go. And we need to show them that there are other people in this community in other ways, that we need them, we want them, and they are part of it. And then we also have a section of just talking about their future, where they will actually talk about things that they've learned there and how they might do it a little bit differently. This is a very interactive curriculum, because keeping children's attention is also another great challenge. So there are a lot of activities that the facilitator would have with each of these subjects. There's also journaling. At the end of every class, the participants will journal. And this will be something they can share if they want or not if they want, but they will have to, again, making them think of where they're coming from as opposed to just reacting to notes. So we spent about almost 2 years with the group that I had mentioned before, meeting every couple of weeks, doing a lot of research, refining it. I feel that the Nashville community not only needs it, I think there are so many people here that have invested in it that I think that it could be a really great tool for moving forward, and hopefully adding another tool to the toolbox of trying to get our head around and make our children have a safe and happy, productive life.
I believe when I sent all of the materials over to Shelley that I included Module 1 in its entirety, as well as one of the activities. So.
I have a question. What mechanisms are you guys having in place to maintain the fidelity of this curriculum? I understand the trainer approach, so how are you guys going to make sure it's effective and stable?
A lot of that is the pre and post surveys that we do, where we see if it's the materials being received, we will be evaluating it as we go. We will be updating it and doing and continuing the research as new things have come.
And how often will the facilitators have to go back through training? Have you guys thought that far yet?
We have it with our adult curriculum. We have an ongoing, they can contact us, and we send out the information of updates every year. Because this is a more contained, that's what the whole statewide thing. Since this is more contained, we may do that, especially at the beginning, a little more often, like every 6 months and that type of thing, especially as more information and techniques become present with, like, the ACEs and that kind of thing. We intend to keep this curriculum current and up to date, and that's how we would do it. And facilitators, once they are trained by us, they have access to us. I mean, so even in the middle of one of the classes, they say, this came up and it hasn't before, how do you think we should deal with it?
So they got that ongoing support from you?
Oh, absolutely,
okay.
Absolutely.
As I understand it, and just to clarify, so if this proposal were funded, it would result in approximately 72 youth being served who wouldn't otherwise be served.
Correct.
Right. Correct.
What ages does this cover?
The curriculum was designed for 12 to 24, but the age target was 12 to 17. The reason we went up to 24 is actually with some of the people from the Department of Corrections on this, they felt that a lot of the young adults who are now in prison could benefit from this. It's almost like, your brain stops developing, and so that they're at, but it's targeted, and the research was done on a 12 to 17-year-old brain, which unfortunately you may chronologically be older, but your brain hasn't quite caught up with your body.
Indeed. And how long are the groups?
It's a 90-minute session, and it's a weekly 8 weeks.
8 weeks.
So 90 minutes and then 8 weeks.
What do you envision for, your referral source for the program in terms of the youth? Are we looking at them coming from court or from school or?
We would like to work with both, with the court system, with just whenever somebody is getting on the radar of the juvenile system. Again, this could be a divergent thing. We also work with school counselors and even community leaders who serve a lot of youth. Again, goes back to how many people everybody touches in their life. We don't want to remove somebody just because they weren't in a particular group. If a legitimate leader sees the need for a child to participate, we want to see that can happen.
Are you finding your curriculum, because as I understand it correctly, it was basically initially developed to kind of serve an adult population? Are you finding that it's having to be adapted a lot in order to serve a juvenile population, or is that?
Yeah, I think that the approach is a little bit different, and also our adult population, they're incarcerated.
Right.
So the whole. Right. And but again, it doesn't. Even if they are incarcerated, chances are they're going to be paroled.
Right.
And so we can't just say, well, you did this, so go away for 5 years and then come back out. I mean, we need to say, yes, you did, and yes, you acknowledged it, and this is, but we're going to show you how to not end up back here.
Right.
And there is a lot of research about the use of victim impact with incarcerated in helping to reduce recidivism. The other thing we are doing is we are actually renaming this, and this came after one of the training sessions, to actually the juvenile impact curriculum, and we're taking the word victim out of it, just because that does sound sort of more punitive, and our approach here is to be inclusive and not, punishing.
Right.
And so just the title, we think, will help make it a little more welcoming for the student. I mean, we don't expect these children to be all excited about being here, because probably they're going to be required to be. So again, just trying to weave it in to.
Is this the first work you've done with juveniles specifically?
Well, we've worked with bullying.
That's right.
We've done that in the schools. We train daycare workers for their licensing. We do a lot of that, but programs specifically directed. We do sexual assault classes in all the colleges, but for this age group.
And every year we do a healthy dating presentation to all the 10th graders at university school. So all of their 10th graders every year.
And we'd love to do it to other schools, but right now university schools are the only ones that welcome us. Well, because of talking, because sex comes up, and so,
Everybody's like, oh, we can't talk about that.
Yeah. We can sell hamburgers through sex, but we can't talk about it in school.
Wow.
But that's a whole other subject.
Yeah, and the human sex trafficking presentations that we do, we've through Junior League initiative, we have done a youth version of that presentation, and actually we just, I think it was last month, this month.
This month we did to our Girl Scout troop. Yeah, and again, and that's our way of getting around some of the, reluctance of metro schools and stuff is to work with community groups. Like Girl Scouts, you can be invited in, and our church can invite you in.
So yeah, a lot of our programming, we are now taking it from the adult level down into.
It seems like I used to work with Tennessee Department of Correction, and so I know you work from the adult side.
Yes, yeah.
So yeah, slowly but surely we're getting everything.
Which makes good sense.
I think we need to get
taken down to the youth level to start earlier.
I think all of, the adult level is necessary, but if we're really going to have an impact, we've got to start drilling it down a little
adult
bit.
section, we're
Yes.
not getting to going
Yes.
through the juvenile one.
Yeah, yeah. So,
And you're planning to,
Discussion?
you're planning to use, what, 2 facilitators?
yes,
Workshop?
yes. We feel that that would give the kids like a 1-to-6 ratio. It also can do personalities, somebody, the good cop, bad cop kind of thing.
And how would you get the youth buy-in to this program? Because of course they don't probably want to attend.
Right.
And how would you guys go about that?
A lot of them are going to be required, and a lot of that's going to depend on the facilitators, which I really wish our facilitators could be here, because they have a gift. Sharon Travis especially has a gift of getting the kids activated, and they with the girls with Epic Girl, they're also going to get something at the end of it. They'll get their certificate, but with the Epic Girls at the Hillsborough High School are getting a journal for them to keep, and giving kids something.
Yeah.
We haven't quite figured out what we need to do with the boys yet, but
Well, the girls' journal is pink. It's about this big, and it says, "Nevertheless, she persisted," on the front of it. So just to give you a little incentive to keep going. You can do this.
And you're going to do separate groups with males and females?
That's what we would prefer to do. That's what's been recommended.
Content,
Yeah, because that just puts a whole other set of dynamics in
Yeah.
play, but
1 minute mark for discussion.
well, thank you again.
Thank you so much.
We should introduce, I guess we went around to introduce ourselves. But I'm Mariah Cole, Director of Program Management.
Tara DeSampson, Program Manager.
Dexter Samuels, Executive Director with Robert Johnson Center for Health Policy.
And then in the back we have
Georgiana, the postdoc fellow.
Stephen Smith, Program Manager.
and we've got Tamisha with us.
She's an executive assistant.
Going to give us a lot of smiles. Right, moral support, exactly. And so we can start if we would like to. If you could just start with the clip. If you click that.
This is a clip?
Mm-hmm. So you can.
It says QuickTime not available.
On the computer? I can explain to you what's happening.
I can help you with
Yeah. Okay. So these is a clip from Whites Creek High School, which is going to be our partner on our proposal, and it's a clip of a fight that's happening. There are 2 young ladies who get into a fight, and as you can see, there are lots of people around them, also kind of involved in the altercation. And we wanted to show that to just give an example of our purpose here and what we'll be doing with our proposed program, which we have named and didn't put in the grant, but we named CHILL, Choosing How I Live Life, which came up. But the purpose of the program, and you can see that there, is to reduce juvenile offenses, and we'll be doing that by using a peer-to-peer learning model, which we'll talk about in depth later, that uses social competencies and conflict resolution skills to empower youth to avoid conflict. We can go to the next slide.
What we do know and what we do understand is that the issue of youth crime is at an epidemic proportion. What we also know is that there's major stressors to the system in light of youth crime. The stresses on healthcare, the stresses on the educational system, the stresses in juvenile court and social services. So we believe it is imperative that we address this issue immediately. And when you look at the particular needs and some of the issues that we are facing, when you look specifically at the community image, and so if you have high crime within a community, you have this negative image of that community. So you have loss of jobs, you have loss of individuals coming into the city, you have loss of businesses wanting to come into the city, and so it really has a negative effect overall on the image. Also it impedes the safety because there is a wellness and issue that people believe from a safety perspective that the community should be safe, and having increased youth crime then has a negative effect on that as well. It also disrupts the faculty, and we believe that there should be faculty cohesion and family cohesion when you're looking at this issue of crime. Then also there's economic hardships. What we do know is that if an individual goes through the juvenile justice system, there's a negative impact on the overall fiscal issues relative to then the family. And that's something that we definitely have to address. And then also the issue of public health in terms of accessibility to health care that this crime then also addresses.
And to add to that, the economic impact is a huge, huge problem. Nationally speaking, in 2006, the United States spent roughly about $158 billion in just youth violence prevention and treatment programs alone. We also saw that in 2010, roughly 4,800 youth ages between the age of 10 to 24 were victims of homicide. And here, locally in Nashville, just last year, we saw that 20 youth under the age of 19 were also victims of homicide. And recently, we saw that there was an analysis conducted by the Brookings Institute that said that 14% of the people who grew up here in the zip code of 37208, which is one of the NPZ zones in the grant, that they were incarcerated. And so that's actually the highest rate in the nation among high population zip codes. So as you can see, this need is definitely needed.
And so talking about our proposed solution, which is our program design, we'll be using a program called Aggressors, Victims, and Bystanders. The unique characteristics of this program is that it allows students to role play in each of those roles, as an aggressor, as a victim, and then as a bystander. And if you had seen the clip, there are all three of those participants in the situation. And what AVB does is empower children, youth to develop competencies to de-escalate violent situations. AVB has been proven to be effective by the U.S. Department of Education as well as the U.S. Department of Justice, and it uses a four-step think first model. Those steps are to keep cool, to size up the situation, to think it through, and then to do the right thing. And they use those skills to help de-escalate situations. As you'll see, we also have group mentoring and service learning opportunities. These build on resiliencies among children. They capitalize on their strengths. They connect them to a larger community. They develop interpersonal relationships. And all that is undergirded by our value proposition, and that is to empower children or youth to de-escalate violent encounters no matter what role they're playing, and to build on their strengths, to build on those resiliency factors so that they can avoid those situations.
So there are roughly 814 students that attend Whites Creek High School, and roughly close to half of our student population are either chronically absent or suspended. And so what we're proposing is that we hope that our program is going to, of course, directly impact about 50 students, but our overall goal is to have more of a school-wide and community impact by, like as what Mariah just stated, in terms of trying to de-escalate violent acts. We want to reduce disciplinary acts as well, and also improve academic performances. In terms of that evaluation, throughout the implementation of the program, we're going to use various tools to collect data and to evaluate the effectiveness of our program. The first two being the Adverse Childhood Experiences test and the Youth Assessment Screening Instrument. Both of these tools will be given to our students at the beginning of the program in order to assess their risk levels. And based on their levels, we're going to develop a work plan so that we can help program staff find the resources to address their specific needs throughout the duration of the program.
We will also evaluate student feedback through our 32-question pre- and post-assessment, and also a monthly survey to evaluate overall program effectiveness.
Now, what will it cost for this program?
So in the salary line, we initially have a program director that will oversee the implementation of the project and make sure it gets off the ground and it gets running. However, we have other professional fees, supplies, meeting expenses that as the years go on may be absorbed by the school or the school system should they choose to adopt this curriculum. So as you will see, our ongoing costs will include the educational material because the AVB program is a curriculum that will need to be purchased for students to have their individual booklets. And we also have food included in meeting expenses so that students can be as comfortable as they need to be, whether we're having a meeting at lunchtime or after school during a dinner hour. That way they don't have to choose between going, get something to eat, and coming to their program. So we see those as ongoing costs. And we also have principal investigator mentors from Meharry and community agencies that will donate their time.
So when you look at the impact, really the impact is almost immeasurable. We've talked on that we would directly influence 50 students, but we see it much greater than that we see this really impacting the community. But if you look solely just on the 50 students, if you looked at those 50 students and if those students were incarcerated, that would cost roughly about $7.1 million annually to incarcerate those kids. So when you look and compare the $7.1 million to the $25,000, we believe it is a very good investment. The other thing we think that is most affordable when you look at this particular program is the fact that it's going to enhance the community through our service learning. And so these students will then participate in various student learning projects. So we will look at looking at the homeless shelters, looking at infrastructure improvement in the community, and just an array of different other issues. And has this been done before? It has been done before. So it's been done in 10 schools here in Davidson County, and also been done in Shelby County schools. And one of the things that Shelby County school system, from my understanding, that they're doing now, they're going to expand it to all schools. It was just done as a pilot project, and so they're looking at doing this in all the schools in Shelby County. So we know that this actually works. But the important thing is that this is going to be a concentrated effort in Whites Creek. And when you look at the outcomes, we believe it's going to have a very positive outcome. One, in reducing or eradicating juvenile crime. Also, we know that it should increase the academic success and performance of those students. And then also meaningful and worthwhile relationships that we believe that this program will establish.
Our program execution team includes the individuals in this room. Currently, we have myself listed as the program director, Dr. Samuels listed as the principal investigator. We will also identify a specific AVB trained and ACES trained individual to teach the classes at Whites Creek. Our mentors will come from the Meharry community and business partnerships that we currently have. And as I mentioned, all of our staff has been trained in the AVB curriculum, and the initial implementation of the curriculum was by Dr. Manish Sethi, and we will use him as an advisor. He is affiliated with our center as a researcher, and he will be used as one of our experts to implement the curriculum.
Aside from funding, referral processes to recruit students at Whites Creek High School with one or more juvenile offenses is needed, in addition to collaboration with community partners to implement some of our Service Learning projects. As far as results, we anticipate positive results within 8 weeks of program implementation. And as you can see, from July 2018 to June 2019, we have some of our program activities listed for you.
The sustainability for this project. We hope with the implementation of the project that we will use our current community partners as well as attract new community partners that are willing to come on board, serve as mentors, and serve as sponsors for this program. With Whites Creek High School, we've been working with them for the last 4 years in their Community Health Academy, and specifically working with their students that are sitting for the CCMA certification. So we have established a relationship with Whites Creek High School, and we hope to use this relationship to not only show that Whites Creek can be an example, but to also attract other schools in Metro to adopt the program and have their sponsors come on board and sponsor food, sponsor transportation, provide opportunities for volunteering, and also help sponsor the educational materials. Therefore, we feel that if we have a great core group that is willing to back this program, the expenses and the sustainability of the program will be in the foundation of their core group.
Yes, so that is everything. Thank you for your time. And I guess if you guys have questions now, we would love to answer them.
Now, do you already have mentors in place, or are you in the process of?
Well, currently we have students in our MSPH program that volunteer to mentor with the Whites Creek students, and we actually just finished a 4-day clinical internship with some of the students that included medical students from Meharry, mentoring and helping the students with the questions that they need to pass their CCMA test.
Is the ABB curriculum, is that considered, some of that, of course, you've already described it, probably is, but is it considered evidence-based?
Yes, it is.
Curriculum?
And that's when we have the pre and post test and do an analysis of where the students are going into the program and then the results of that after the program.
How long is the program?
So it's 12 weeks. We've sort of split it out in our program design. The first 6 weeks to be given at the beginning of an academic semester, and then coming back in the beginning of the next academic semester.
And what's the frequency of the groups?
So those are weekly. They meet for about 45 minutes. It can be flexible depending on the schedule, so between 30 minutes and an hour, typically 45 minutes.
And will those youth be partnered up with a mentor?
There will be group mentoring. So if we had 50 students, which we would love to have, then no more than 10 students to per mentor.
And that's, would the mentoring relationship or the mentoring take place outside the session, or is it within the session?
It would be, so the mentors would be introduced during the ABB training, but the monthly mentoring would happen after those initial 6 weeks happen, so each month after that, as well as the service learning projects.
Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm. And what do the service learning projects look like?
We would have to be creative about that. They can look like, sort of anything. We've talked about doing some beautification projects around the Whites Creek area. We've talked about doing infrastructure training with them.
Partner with Metro Public Works, just to let them look at their built environment and how they can become healthier in their community for themselves and their families.
And I think also a good opportunity to work with the juvenile court to, implement some programs there with them if they have other partners.
And you mentioned CHILL before. I love the acronym. Is this part of CHILL, or what?
The program would be called CHILL.
Oh,
so you know how, when students get around,
so,
a lot of times you hear the teachers say, chill out, like just chill out. So if we could get the students to use those 4 steps of ABB and just to think and chill and think before you make your next move. We feel that they will make better decisions. Just taking that moment to pause or chill.
Got it.
You referenced in your presentation, I just wanted to clarify, basically every program, every participant, you would administer both the ACEs screen and the GASI, right?
The assessments,
Yeah, those 2 assessment tools.
Yes, sir.
And who's gonna administer them?
It would probably be the program director, and or in collaboration with the ABB teacher who we identify.
And how are you going to use the OSI information?
That is what will springboard, I guess, the work plans that we mentioned.
That makes good sense.
Right, to get a baseline and then develop those with students.
So each
individual goals.
Each individual work plans, yes.
So what you'll have specifically is a profile of each individual student, looking specifically then at those assessments, but then also looking at their academic performance, because that all should be a part of then that plan. And then we have a monitoring process as they go through their 12 weeks of their program.
Cool.
And the intent with this information be shared with the teachers and the leadership of Whites Creek High School?
So this will be ongoing, and so this will be a part then of their daily plans. And so each step of the way, then the teachers and then the administration will be a part of the program and be well informed. Because again, the hope is that this is just not for the 50 students that will branch off then to the totality then of the school.
Change the culture.
Yes.
Right.
So these sessions will be going on, so like during the school day or after school?
We will work with the the academy coach, because Whites Creek is on an AB block schedule, so it would have to work with what's best for the students, because while we want to help them with the AVB curriculum, we don't want to impede on their academic studies. So if they have a skinny block, is what they call it, a skinny block that's free, where they can implement the program, then we can use that skinny block. But if it's more beneficial to have them, say, meet at 2:30, I believe they get out at 1:50, so meet at 2:30 or directly after school, we will use that time. But that, again, goes back to the collaboration with the school. Everyone will be on the same page and see what's best for the students.
And it'll be open and available to court-involved youth at Whites Creek. There's a few.
Y'all had mentioned that it's already been done in 10 schools in Nashville as a pilot. Has the pilot been concluded, or is it still ongoing right now?
Dr. Satie, he concluded the pilot, and so, like, for example, Cameron Middle School is one of the schools he used, and so, like, on his pretest, he had a lot of children reporting that they were being bullied or that they were bullying people, and then on the post-test, they were experiencing less bullying because they went through the 12 steps, and instead of engaging or becoming that bystander, a bystander taped this video, right? Becoming that bystander and escalating the situation, we saw that a lot of students decided not to participate in a negative way, to go get the school resource officer, to go get a teacher instead of participating in the activity.
So did they come any kind of conclusions or final report once the pilot was wrapped up, about how well it worked?
So Dr. Satie's conclusion was that it does work, and that's what helped him to expand it into Shelby County schools in Memphis. So he showed where they were being successful, where the students were now not participating in these major conflicts, and now they're more focused on their studies and more focused on positive activities within their school, sports, and other extracurricular activities versus who's going to fight today or egging someone on to fight.
Anything y'all want to add to it? We still have plenty of time.
Oh, we do?
So I would like to add just why Meharry Medical College is a part of this. So Meharry's been in existence since 1876 here in Nashville. We are the leading producer of PhDs, students of color. Also, 40% of the black dentists have been trained at Meharry. And one of the things that we think is important is how we're going to uplift our communities. And so the center has really been focused with the great work of the team on how can we enhance our community. And that looking at our youth is most important. And I'd like to end with this quote by MLK, who said, "If you succumb to the temptation of using violence in the struggle, unborn generations will be the recipients of a long and desolate night of bitterness. And your chief legacy to the future will be endless reign of meaningless chaos." And what we want to make sure with this program is that we eradicate or reduce that chaos.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
Who wants to do introductions first? I'll tell you just a little bit about myself. I'm Jeffrey Schicks. I've been in this area for 9 years. I've been a youth pastor for 35 years. And I don't look that old. I have 3 grandkids. I've previously been a police officer and juvenile probation officer in Ohio, and then became a gang specialist in Florida, where worked hand in hand with Juvenile Detention Center down there as a chaplain, as well as trying to deter specifically gang members who are coming into the community and having a hard time staying in school and so forth. And so then in 2008, when the housing market crunched, then we came up here to Tennessee, and so this is chapter 3. So glad to be here with you all too, and for the opportunity that we have to present what we have for you for this grant. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Kara James Johnson. I always tell people I'm getting used to saying that Johnson part. I just got married not too long ago. Well, it's been almost a year now. And my background, I'm the executive director of the Fine Design, where I had more of a struggle growing up. Just a little bit about myself and the passion that I have for this organization. I was birthed into a domestic violence family. It really got so bad that my dad hung me outside of a window and threatened to drop me. I thank God for that police officer that took a gun and put it up to his head and said, if you drop her, she's gone. I watched my mother just constantly fight for her life, and I made up in my mind that I would never be that young lady that was walked over. So I literally took that to a whole nother level. I didn't know at the time I was advocating, but I always stood up for those individuals that were being pushed around, being just walked over. And so as I got older, I ended up making some bad choices out of my decisions to defend. And I remember landing myself in this space, and I told myself, I'm so much bigger than these four walls right here. So I started to make little changes. I landed a good job in corporate America, moved up the corporate ladder, all the way up to the office of the CEO. And I said, I have to go back and get those young people that were fighting like I was. They're fighting for their lives. And it's nothing wrong with fighting. It's just changing the mission of the fight. And that was the birth of the Fine Design, Families in Need of Direction. We are changing with Youth for Christ the mission of the fight. And so I'm excited to be here. I try to not be so, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry for being so passionate, because I understand what these kids are fighting for. So thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to present our program, to present the love and passion that we have for what we do.
Yeah, and just to give you a little basic background around what we do with Youth for Christ and the Fine Design, we are currently active in about 30 schools in the Metro Davidson MMPS school system currently. We have a couple, Youth for Christ, we have a couple of schools in Williamson County. We cover Williamson, Davidson, and Sumner counties. But between our programs with our Campus Life, which are character classes in middle schools and high schools, we target 11 to 19-year-olds with that program. And our Parent Life, which is an outreach to teen moms and dads who find themselves either sexually active and having an abortion or find themselves pregnant in middle school and high school. We reach out to those. Based with those programs that we have in 20-some schools and combined with Fine Design, we represent about 30 different schools just in the metro area that we're on a weekly basis engaged with students that are in the public school system. So we see them often, usually the same kids each week for an entire school year. Mm-hmm. So that's why we partnered together to kind of do this, because we're both on the same page. We might as well make a bigger impact by combining our efforts. So that's just a little brief history about where we're at. Youth for Christ has been around since 1976 in this specific Davidson County area. Our first full-time staff member was Billy Graham, who served on our team as a first full-time staff member, who just recently passed away at the age of 99, sadly, but left a legacy. The last time he was here in the Nashville area was 2000, the year 2000. But what a legacy and an opportunity for us to be partnered with people to get the point across of how to love people the right way for positive change. So, thank you again. So, just to give you some brief statistics that we've pulled about where we're currently at in this county, too. I just pulled these off of the internet. These are 2014, 2015 statistics. Violent crimes, felonies are up 37% among juveniles from 2016 to 2017. There's been about a 16 to 18%. That represents about 16 to 18% of middle school and high school students that will be arrested. So if you look at the combined number of students that we have in this county, I think it's roughly around 88,000 students. About 16% of those are going to find themselves possibly facing, an opportunity in the court that we don't want to see happen. Violent crime rates, the USA shows 199. Tennessee shows 621, and per capita, this is 100,000 population, 100,000 people. 1153 is Davidson County. So we're almost double of what the Tennessee average is of violent crime rates. Domestic violence, again, Davidson County 18%, the Tennessee rate is 11%. With poverty, the USA rate is 15% in poverty, Davidson County is listed at 18.5. In some areas near the downtown area, that number is as high as 20 to 30% that live within the poverty range. Number of students that, and this is age 25 and older, who have not gotten their high school diploma. The USA rate is 14%, and in Davidson County it's 13.6%, but in some areas, again, significant areas near the downtown area, it's as high as 20 to 29% that do not have a diploma. Again, we're just trying to look at how do we change that mold with some of our students. I'm going to turn it over to Karen.
Okay. If you can go to the next slide. Well, if we can stay right here just a moment. This collaboration aims to just change the pathways of young people that are having a rough transition into adulthood. We want to basically influence their decision making, their relationships, how they think about violence, again, changing that fight mindset, risky behaviors, all for a chance to enhance their overall quality of life and decrease their interaction or eliminate altogether their interaction with the court system. Just change it. Jeff went over some awesome data. This is just a little bit, we found out we had a little more time, so we wanted to just kind of throw some data, some additional data. But as you can see, among 10 to 24-year-old, homicide is the leading cause of death amongst African American individuals. The second leading cause of death with Hispanics. The third with American Indians and Alaska Natives. As of 2017, 4,551 juveniles were arrested right here in Davidson County. The most common crime is children that fall victim to assault. Down, if you move a little bit, truancy, I really wanted to point out this because we know that the less time the kids are out of school, the higher their risk is for risky behavior. So one of the initiatives for these organizations is how we can keep kids in school, whether it's truancy, whether it's out of school suspension, whether it's whatever the case may be, we want to keep them in school because if we can keep them there, then our program is a lot on site that they'll be able to have the access they need to change those behavior. The need of the community, it's alarming that just in 2016, 30 arrests was due to homicide. In 2017, 54 arrests, 10, was for homicide. So we look at the impact. A lot of times we know the physical impact, but the mental impact of these young people, the social. We live in a time where phones are everything. So you would be amazed at how many youth don't even know how to hold a conversation with people. And it's just amazing that just being in a room kind of triggers some of that anxiety that they have because they just don't know what that feels like to have a conversation and to talk and use words. So the social and physical violence and things of that nature, the cost. Look at what we're paying for homicide and assault. $16 billion a year is what we're spending on youth that get involved in the court system due to homicide and assault. It affects welfare, the criminal justice system. It reduces productivity. We're just not being productive if we're having them locked behind bars as a community, and as well as the property value. We don't kind of think about that our property value declines when we have violence in our neighborhood. So it just makes such a huge impact when young people are involved in the court system. You can move to the next slide. So we just feel where there is a true, authentic program, there is an answer. And thank God thank the opportunity for this program to collaborate. Mentoring, I think that we use it as a cliche now, but it is so key. Just to be able to say, not only can I talk the talk, I can walk the walk with you. So just connecting with these young people. And we do it in the form of group mentoring. What we find out is that not only do they learn from us, they tend to learn from each other. So we make sure that there's diversity amongst the group, not just individuals that interact within the court system, but also that do not. Because just because I'm not getting in trouble does not mean that I'm not going through some of the things that you all are going through. So what they tend to learn is, oh, you have my story too, and they tend to emulate that good behavior that they see from the other individuals that's in that group. We also do hands-on learning. I don't want to hear people talk to me for an hour. I'm just sorry. I'm just not interested. So just to be able to come in and they know that they're going to move around and have fun, and sometimes the role play or whatever the case may be, they get excited about it. They're learning leadership skills, presentation skills that they will use once it's time to get a job and things of that nature. So we make sure that every activity is interactive, that they're getting to know each other and moving around. We focus on being healthy, not only physically healthy, but healthy within their self, healthy within their families. We have a huge family engagement piece, healthy within their communities, and healthy relationships overall. Service learning, it blows my mind that the kids that struggle the most like to help other people. So just incorporating community outreach. As soon as I tell them, look, I'm going to come in here and give you a service, I need you to give it to somebody else, they get extremely excited. They love to feed the homeless. They love to do activities that they can help. I just think we all have that in us. It's just a matter of triggering it out of them, and they get so excited. So just making sure we incorporate 20 hours of community service that they're committed to. Evidence-based learning. So we were real strategic in picking the type of curriculum that we want. And Arise Life Skills really focus on violence, anger management, conflict resolution. This particular curriculum is evidence-based. The University of Miami has very specific detail with this curriculum of how it has reduced the violence amongst their youth. Anger management, conflict resolution. Is actually 2 detention centers that use it here in the state of Tennessee, and that's Rutherford County and also Jackson, Tennessee. They use this particular curriculum. It has been around since the 1980s, and it has enhanced, the data says, over 500,000 young people. Okay, if we can go to the next slide. This slide just shows us who all will be served through this program. We do, of course, the focus is the young people that come through that program, but we just believe that I can meet with you once a week, but if I'm sending you back into that same type of environment, then that stuff can get erased that what we are doing. So we try to get the family on the same page, hence our name of our organization, Families in Need of Direction. I can pour all day, but I need to be able to make sure that that family is on the same page. So 200 youth we're looking at serving within this capacity, 150 parents. We have partnered with Metro Nashville Public Schools Parent University, and we hold a workshop entitled Parent with Purpose, where we pour into the families, providing them resources, as well as giving them positive parenting skills. So truly work, and it's so authentic. It's a place that within our survey results said that I can be honest, that I can have real, true, critical conversations. A lot of times they don't feel like they can do that within the schools. So it has been amazing to have that partnership. Also, 200 people will be served through community outreach. So these are the individuals that, because of the community service that these youth will be providing, they will be able to benefit from this program. So we partner with Youth for Christ and did what is called Gifts of Love, and we allow our young people to help host, organize, serve, wrap gifts for 100 kids within Metro schools that are homeless. So they do a whole program. We have some of the kids entertain, and if you can get their passion of what they love, you can work with them so much. So we give them the opportunity to showcase what they love to do. Again, 200,000, and we'll look more at this in our outcomes, but because of the 20 hours that they will be donating to other organizations, 2,000 will be provided to local nonprofits to further their mission. So we're really excited about that. The duration for the program technically is 15 months. We still keep up with them years from now. The good part about what we do is it's on site at the schools and in the community centers where they're located. So we are always accessible even once they graduate from the program, and we do our 12-month follow-up. We still are on site for them to be able to reach out to us. So that's really exciting to be able to have that opportunity. Outcomes. We want to make an impact. We're not there to just show up and not make an impact. So to look at my background in corporate America was quality. So I'm really, really, really into how we can assess programs and make sure that we're not just there wasting our time, that we're making a real life impact. So our impact, and this is just some, we narrowed it down to 3, 75% would show significant improvements in violent-related aggressive behavior and an increased knowledge of how to handle conflict and anger in productive ways. We have a ton of ways that we assess this. Attendance logs, just making sure, and I won't go over all these individually, but making sure they're showing up for the program. Pre and post surveys, we're constantly, weekly and monthly, just making sure that we're not just talking and that we're getting through to changing behaviors. We do questionnaires. We do a risk analysis at the beginning to make sure we understand what type of background they have and trauma that they've gone through. We, thankfully, through a partnership with Metro Nashville Public Schools, we have access to their grades, their behavior referrals, their out-of-school suspension, as well as their attendance. So we know instantly through a report that we receive from Metro what's going on. We put them on a performance plan if we see a downward trend, and we jump on it and provide more one-on-one consultation and impact there. We also check in with the parents. We want to know how the behaviors are changing at home. What I do not want is you changing it in this class, because we built the relationship. I want to know that it's carrying out when you leave the doors. So checking in with the parents to make sure that they're noticing a behavior at home. The outcome, too, we kind of talked about 90% of the youth will have a minimum of 20 hours of community outreach. We do this in several different ways, whether we bring it on site to the schools from other organizations, or we go out in the community depending on the schools, and if it's an after-school or on-site program, we do offer both. Again, we do this through pre and post surveys, community service log. We have our community outreach individuals and partnership log that they were there and they did complete this type of community service. They can document their overall experience, not only within the program, but in the community outreach as well. So it's like a journal. They tell how it made them feel, the experience they have, and just the overall impact of that service. Outcome 3, 60% of youth would avoid reoffending post the program, and this is through juvenile court data, through having that relationship with the parent. And you'll be amazed that when you show a child unconditional love, the honesty that comes along with it, to constantly check in to ensure that they are not getting involved in the court system as well. Okay. So here today we are requesting $46,000 from this juvenile community partnership grant. The overall proposal is $223,855. The revenue what we're getting in is $166,855. Operation expenses, $85,915. The staff, $107,940. In kind, $225,000 is so much more than that, but $225,000 estimation of what this program will bring in as far as in-kind donations. Excuse me. The next one is just to impact. What return are you all getting and just overall getting for the impact? We took Mountain View, which is in Dansbridge, Tennessee, on the higher end, and even Woodland. I know they have a new name now, still going by Woodland Hills. Even they were around 640.
640, yeah.
Okay. So per day, to house a juvenile, $677. The average length is 3 to 5 days. That is approximately $3,000, almost $400 for 5 days. For 200 kids, what we're proposing in this program, that is $677,000 just for 5 days. What the cost of city life per participant is $639. For 200 kids, it does not include the parents, and the community service outreach is $127,800. Look at the difference, goodness. The difference, $549,000, and this is 15 months of programming to include a follow-up in that 15 months. Similar programs, as we spoke about, the RISE curriculum is not just a nationwide curriculum, it's a global curriculum, and different continents use this curriculum. And again, it goes back to that number, 500,000 lives have been impacted by this particular curriculum since the 1980, should be 9. It shows significant violence reduction, goal setting, and anger management. I put up Fine Design's previous data. This is actually data from a similar program that we run. 95% of our participants had an increase in their attendance. 75 showed a decrease of behavior, most having 0 occurrences once they enrolled in the program. Okay. This is just kind of the key individuals that will be working on this particular program. I myself will oversee. Again, I have that background of just constantly ensuring that we're on the proper timeline, that we're reviewing the cost of the program, truly results-driven, continuous improvements throughout the program. It just shows a little bit of my background. I've been program director, over 10 years of program director experience, core advocate. Some faces I'm sure in here from the Corps have seen me before, a mentor. Jeff told you a little bit about him, just having we still so active in facilitating and supporting programs regardless of our title. Sharice Chapman, program director, facilitating as well as assisting me with overseeing the program. And just for now, Terry Key, if you're familiar with the Edge Hill Bike Club here in Nashville, he's also works for Youth for Christ as well. So he'll be dedicated to this program. Camille Haygood, our Youth Development Coordinator and City Life Director. We already share her now. She works part-time for each of the organization. And Emil Justine with the Juvenile Justice Director with that particular program. He currently works in the detention center at Juvenile Court. So we will have that dedication here. We also have volunteer program advisors from organizations such as Project Return, Department of Children's Services, as well as Home Builders Institution, all prison-based programs for adults and youth that have advised the program. STARS is a former STAR employee, also advises us on our programming. So just wanted to kind of point that out, that we do have some consistent program advisors for our particular program. So just to go over the launch of the program, we have already, again, this is an expansion of what we currently do. So the staff has been secured, key staff members have been secured, space within the school system and community centers and detentions have been secured. Program participants pending. So what normally happens is the juvenile court or the social workers on site refer individuals to the program. And we've constantly securing in-kind donations. We have transportation, volunteers, mentors. So those are things that we do on a consistent basis. So I couldn't put secure, but they are always pending and securing. We are launching in September of 2018. And we will provide reporting, mid-year reporting, January and June, but also whenever the opportunity presents itself or whatever criteria that follows behind that. Okay, and I know I'm short for time, but we, just to sustain our program, like Jeff has talked about just how long Youth for Christ has been in business. The Fine Design is going on its 4th year. We're right at 4 years of being present in Nashville. Just continuing collaborations with organizations, with churches, key partnerships. We have one with Rocket Town. We can go on and on about the partnerships. Continue to broaden and maintain relationships with local foundations. We each have 2 individual fundraisers that we do, and we're looking to even collaborate on doing a fundraiser together. This includes a golf tournament as well as a spring comedy event that I'm excited about coming up, and also just constantly securing individual donors. Those are really the key to sustainability, just getting those individuals invested in your program.
And we wanted to leave a few minutes at the end in case you had any questions specifically for us or programs or individuals that we currently have.
5 minutes for discussion.
How many
mentors or volunteers do you have as of right now?
As of right now, the Finance Eye has 15 consistent.
We have 6 part-time staff, and probably currently it's right around 38 to 40 volunteers that help with those programming too, with our Campus Life, City Life, Juvenile Justice Ministry, and Parent Life programs.
And that's consistent. We always have, depending on the events, additional as well.
And that doesn't include our partnership events like Live Empowered, that has their own staff and volunteers, as well as Rocket Town, again, who has their own staff and volunteers also. Those aren't included in our numbers.
So the program is a 15-month curriculum, right? And then you also mentioned a 6-month and a 12-month follow-up. What does that follow-up look like?
So the follow-up is we reach, again, we're on site at a lot, so we still get the data of those individuals that's in that program. So just because they graduate, for example, a 9th grader, we get their information up until they graduate high school. So reaching out to the parents, we even allow those individuals to come back and volunteer within the organization. So we constantly tell them opportunities to volunteer. We check to ensure that they have not been arrested or have been involved in the court system. And we give them opportunities with job development. So depending on what we have going on, we make partnerships with different resources to ensure they stay on the right path.
Yeah, one specific story, Sammy, who graduated about 3 years ago. We give her a $1,000 scholarship to go to college. She went to dental school, finished dental school, is now a dental hygienist. But at the time she was in our program, she was a sophomore in high school, pregnant with a little boy. So she finished high school as a mom, as a student, went on to dental school. Now she works for a dental office, and we helped her to pursue that career. So, and that was just one of many stories that we see in both our programs that, we're constantly trying to invest in these students. When we have a kid that comes out of detention center, Pastor Engel is contacting them, hey, where you at? What can I help you with? Can I help you secure a job? You get back into a school? Is it Bass Alternative? Is it somewhere else? What can we help you with? So those kinds of conversations that we constantly stay on top of these students' lives that we're working with,
And with this funding will also allow us to do is expand that post follow-up as well, that case management piece. We really want to make the post piece directly for that individual. So looking at what they love to do. A part of our assessment is we always ask, what do you love to do instead of what you want to be when you grow up, because that conflicts a lot of times. In our culture, we are told you are a doctor or a lawyer. And when you are not either one of those, it's like I'm worthless. So really, really knowing what they want to do and making sure they're connected with something that they love to do, that keeps them out of the streets. If they can bounce off their passion, so really having a plan of action will allow us to do that with this funding, to say we will continue, not even just 12 months, but 5 years from now, making sure we're constantly checking in and they're surrounded by individuals that can feed into them with resources.
Can you clarify for me, I know you've already said that this would be, if you receive this funding, it would be an expansion of basically what you're already doing. The 200 youth you mentioned, are those 200 youth that are already going to be served, or will this funding allow you to serve 200 additional youth?
Yeah, this is additional. These are brand new youth that will be referred as of starting in August and September. Yes.
All right, final questions? We're out of time.
Again, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
The opportunity to be in front of you, so we appreciate it very much.
I love running my mouth. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Our pleasure.
Thank you so much.
All right, well, thanks for having us here. My name is Michael Senti.
I'm Laurel Reed.
And we're with Oasis Center. And I'm going to talk to you today about the REAL program. So the REAL program, since 2009, the REAL program has really provided a life-changing diversion from the juvenile court for over 500 of Nashville's most at-risk young people. What that means is that last year, 75 young people had an alternative to the juvenile justice system. So research often shows that does more harm than good for a lot of young people. So the REAL program really provides that diversion. 92% of those young people last year avoided reoffending. So thinking about youth violence, the need in Nashville, between 2010 and 2015, 1 out of every 12 young people in Nashville was involved in a violent incident. And as alarming as of that is, we know the problem is growing. Last year, Nashville experienced its highest homicide rate in over 20 years. 107 homicide victims last year. And homicide is just the most egregious form of violence, but we're seeing youth violence spike in a number of other areas as well. What's most upsetting about this is that 43% of victims last year were young people. And we know that violence really has widespread effects. The effects are both contributing to and resulting from a cycle of community trauma and social decline. As we see businesses not wanting to invest in neighborhoods, there's healthcare costs go up, employment and education outcomes decline, incarceration costs obviously go up, but really the social fabric of the neighborhood deteriorates. Social fabric of the community deteriorates. And just putting a number on it, gun violence alone is estimated at costing every individual about $700 a year through direct and indirect costs.
All right, so what can we do about this? This is where the REAL program comes in. The REAL program, as we've said, is a 13-week diversion program for youth involved in the juvenile justice system. These young people are coming from those communities, those neighborhoods that are most affected by youth violence, and they have personal experience with it, either as perpetrators or as victims or simply as witnesses. That's why the REAL program takes a trauma-informed, evidence-informed youth development program approach. So, as we know, youth violence is a complex issue, which is why we address these issues with multifaceted approaches. We have service learning projects that we engage our youth in. Every week, our youth meet with our workforce development program, which is called Transitions. Within that, they don't just get to work on their workforce skills, they also get to interact with positive adult mentors. We really like to focus on family engagement. We think it's important to help them repair those relationships, rebuild those relationships. We'll do fun activities with families. We'll take them to TPAC. We'll do those things so that when they leave the REAL program, they still have that positive support system aside from us. So what does this mean? We're not just trying to help youth avoid reoffending. Obviously, that's very important, and that is one of our objectives. But ultimately, we want to help them build a positive identity. We want them to walk out of this with a track record of success. We want them to walk out of this with the skills that they need to kind of address their behaviors, the skills that they need to build the future that they want for themselves. All right, so our impact, we work with 75 youth and their families every year. This past year, 73% of those were from Nashville Promise Zones. Our impact is not just immediate, it's long-term.
And we're going to get to that in the next slide, kind of walk through the evaluation plan, but here's just some of the things, we talked about, or Lowell talked about on the previous slide. Connecting with mentors or workforce. This is a mock interview session. This is the mural these young men did at Hadley Park, which is over in North Nashville. And this is on graduation day. All the young men get suits on graduation day. This we took a trip to Selma, 50th anniversary march. Young people took photographs. It's a youth photograph. They would sell those photographs and make a little money for themselves, too. There's a workforce aspect of this. This is a family at Skirmahorn Symphony. Of course, family engagement is a huge piece. But as Lowell said, the effects are really, they range from immediate to long term. And so that starts with a kind of a clearly defined logic model that we have for the program, which is measuring not just the indicators of when a young person's involved in the program, how are they progressing, how are they showing up, are we demonstrating some skills and behavioral changes. But we also want to know, when a young person completes the program, are they feeling more connected to their family? Are they feeling more connected to their community? Have they built some employability and education skills? Do they have higher aspirations for what they want to do in life? And all of those we recognize are vital leading indicators of more long-term impact. And as Lowell mentioned, it's not just about helping youth avoid reoffending. That's obviously a key goal of ours, but it's aspirational as well. We want to make sure that young people are in school, that they finish high school, that they go on to college, go on to get a credential. that they are working in sustainable career pathways, and truly they're set up for long-term life success.
So we track all of these measurements through our agency-wide database. We do pre and post surveys with the youth. And we don't do this just so that we can have numbers to present to our funders. We do this so that we can regularly evaluate our program's effectiveness and implement changes when necessary. Another way that we make sure that we're maintaining program effectiveness is through youth program quality assessment monitoring, which we administer at least once per year.
So the real costs about $150,000 to run every year. Majority of that's in personnel costs, but I'll point out that 8% of that goes directly to clients. So we have bus passes, or we recognize that often families experience some sort of emergency situations, have small expenses that add up to big challenges that prevent them from successfully engaging with us. So we have some funds set aside to help youth and families address those challenges as they arise. In terms of revenue, we're a pretty diversified funding stream. This $50,000 request would represent about a third of the program's budget. That would accompany strong funding from United Way and Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. Each of those are multi-year grants, as well as we have foundations and a group of private donors as well that's really kind of merged around supporting this work. And if you think about the cost just for a young person, right down here, real cost about $50 a day for a young person. Now, alternatively, it's not always the first case, but alternatively, should that young person be incarcerated in youth detention, the Office of, the Justice Policy Institute came up with a study a couple years back where they analyzed the costs of youth incarceration. In Tennessee, they said, or they estimated that cost is about $300 a day. Now, juvenile court reports on the website about 130 youth are detained every month in Nashville, and they spend 3 to 5 days in detention. So simply by diverting young people, preventing young people, those young people from being in detention, there's a conservative cost savings there every month of about $120,000 for the national community. But we know that's kind of just the tip of the iceberg, because if you think about youth who are incarcerated, often go on to have be incarcerated as adults, to have really poor long-term education and employment outcomes. They have high rates of mental health concerns. All of those things have real costs associated with them that really add up over the course of a lifetime, as well as social costs associated with that as well. But over the course of a lifetime, think about just one 14-year-old young person, a high-risk young person. The lifetime value of, quote-unquote, saving a young person from a, quote, life of crime is conservatively $2.5 million savings to society. And again, that's conservative estimate.
All right, so we've looked at other programs that also work with youth that are court involved and have similar objectives as the REAL program. One of those that we've looked at is the U.S. Department of Labor's Face Forward 3 program. Now they had 11 grantees across the nation. This was more of a workforce development based program. It was more about case management and one-on-one interaction with the youth. Unfortunately, they did not accomplish their objectives at the rate that they would like to. And so we looked at this, to compare it to our program, and we looked at, what was it that was different? What was the big takeaway that we thought maybe was different between their program and ours? And what we saw was that they lacked cohort-based support, and they lacked family engagement.
And of course, those are two key aspects of the REAL program, as well as an emerging workforce development focus. And again, kind of looking at our impact measures, they reflect sort of that holistic model that we take within the program. And we recognize that these things are, again, they're essential for a young person's entire well-being. And as we see changes in the young person, that of course goes directly back over here into the return on investment we see for our community.
All right, so our team. Ron Johnson, he is our program coordinator. He's been with us since 2010. He's widely recognized in the Nashville community for his efforts to prevent youth violence. In fact, he took part in the Mayor's Youth Violence Summit about 2 years ago. Tay McGee has been with us since 2014. Tay started actually as a volunteer, but he has been huge in implementing that family engagement in our program. He's really helped us take it to the next level. So we're happy to have him full-time since 2014. Rokisha Bryant is one of our teen outreach program trainers. So what she does is she works with she's currently working with the juvenile court staff to help them with TOP training, and she's also helping them through the SPEP process. For real, she's really involved in our family retreat program and a lot of our family engagement groups. All right, our overhead for the REAL program, that's our Youth Engagement and Action Team Leadership. They have, together, Judy and Jen have over 55 years of youth development experience.
At Oasis.
At Oasis. So we're very happy to have them and their expertise. We also have volunteers who are pre-screened, pre-trained, and committed to the year. So we want people who are going to be around and be good role models for our youth.
Absolutely. That relationship aspect, the long-term commitment is absolutely essential and is entirely reflected. We can't stress enough the importance of the relationships that we develop with young people in these programs. Both Ron and Tay and this young person at graduation, it truly is this kind of band of brothers that emerges, and these young people, it becomes a family. That's absolutely critical to our success. So Real up and running. It's been up and running for a number of years. Last year alone, some of our key stats I pointed out at the beginning, 92% of young people did not reoffend. 80% of families participated in the program. Young people were heavily involved in service learning, and as a result, you can see 95% reported feeling stronger connections to their community. So with CPF funds, the first Real program cohort would start pretty quick, within the first couple weeks in July.
All right, sustainability. Okay, so we have been able to sustain this program since 2009, as we said, but we're not just maintaining a funding source. We've been growing it since that time as well. This year alone, we will have our most diverse funding base than ever before.
And we recognize that sustainability is really twofold. It's the financial viability of the program, but it's also the program's excellence and the community change that's happened. And so we also look at working upstream in terms of working to prevent young people from coming into contact with the juvenile justice system to begin with. You know, we're working to dismantle the school to prison pipeline through initiatives like Passage, which is working with the schools, the multi-partner initiative. We're engaged heavily in youth employment through Opportunity Now. Any number of things that really are getting upstream of these issues from happening. And we're also really focused on building evidence for the program. You know, we've measuring our work is absolutely a commitment throughout Oasis. We've demonstrated a lot of success for the REAL program over the past 10 years. We know that we're just going to keep building on that. And we need more rigorous evidence. And we're excited about the SPEP process to kind of walk through that a bit. But we know that the more impact measurements that we can show, the more true evidence we have the program's effectiveness, the easier it will be to not only sustain the program, but indeed scale it to address the true extent of youth violence in Nashville.
Thank you guys so much. Oh, I have a question about the TOP program. Tell me about the TOP program.
So that's the Teen Outreach Program. It's the proprietor is Lyman, and Oasis is a replication partner, and it teaches social emotional learning through service. Adrian actually was a trainer for it before he came over here. Yes. So, and we've been using it at Oasis for about 30 years now. but it was about 6 years ago we became a replication partner, and so Department of Children's Services, it's a big federal grant, asked us to do this. So we train across the state in facilities that serve foster care youth. And then it was going so well, they asked us to move into the JJ section. And so we're at the 3 youth development centers, and we've started at juvenile court. And so the SAIs are being trained. Is that SIAs? So I said it wrong. SIAs. They're not probation officers anymore. I know that. I knew it didn't sound right. Anyway, so they're getting trained in it, and the judge is very interested in them all getting trained, I think. And so, yeah, so again, it creates relationships and a chance to do service in the community, but not community service like juvenile court used to assign. They choose what they want to do, they plan it, execute it, evaluate it, and go from there. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, questions?
Talk to me about how getting this funding or not getting this funding affects the number of youth you'll be able to serve through the REAL program.
We need this funding. So the budget he gave you, we actually got cut by United Way this year, and so I went to the Tennessee Department of Mental Health, who has funded REAL for several years, and asked if we could get extra funds. They gave us an extra $25,000. I don't know if we're going to get that again, so we need this 50. We used to get the community engagement funds, and it started at 90,000, and it has gone down to, it went less and less, but 50,000 is less than what we were getting. So we still have to make up some of that. So I don't know that we can maintain all of that, so the staffing might have to change. I guess we'd have about a 30% reduction. Is that what you were saying? Since it's 30% of our funding, at least.
Yeah.
But it would hurt.
Yeah, I mean, what I hear you say, it would definitely, if you didn't receive it, it's going to. The bottom line, it sounds like it's just like you're not going to be able to service me.
It would affect, absolutely. Also, I'll point out the quality of services too, because we've been able to, we've been able to add in a lot of the family engagement piece through and the direct, client assistance, because we recognize those are essential.
Yes.
But they're activities that could also be expended. I think if if drastically funded.
And that 8% going to families, I mean, it's like their light bills.
Sure, right.
They have no tires anymore. They can't get to work. It's things that you just can't get social services to just handle. So we have an emergency fund that we use. And truthfully, REAL uses it the most of anybody because they need it.
Our need. A lot of different ways.
I mean, I'm very familiar. I know most of the, the families that, that you serve, and a lot of them are our families. I mean, that's where most of them are. That that's the reality of the situation that which most of them live.
And not only are we'd be serving less, but when a family comes to the REAL program, they get every other service at Oasis that they need because we say, we put them ahead of other people who are waiting for counselors because there are mental health issues.
Because the need is so immediate. That's the thing that and our families come with crises already. And so when something happens, it may be a 3 o'clock call, and then, 3 a.m. call, and then we need some services, and then boom, I got to get on the phone that morning, or call and his son just got locked up, or call and a son was injured in an accident, or a son just lost his life. It's just so many different things that it may affect with us not being able to provide that service.
And the collaboration with REAL and juvenile court, I think,
has been huge.
Well,
the judge went with us to Selma, and she and her son were on the bus with us with the Freedom Riders when we all went down to Selma. It was really incredible. But the judge comes to every single one of the graduations that REAL does.
We're working on, right now it's May the 7th or May the 9th. I got an amazing speaker that I'm working on. So the 9th is a scheduled day. May the 9th is a scheduled day, and I'll tell y'all since y'all are here. It's a secret, so I'm hoping that we have Magic Johnson's brother as our keynote speaker this May. So it's not locked in stone, but it's it's in the air, and the universe has it, and we're going to believe that it's going to happen. So
is the graduation like I believe it or not, I've all the years of working in juvenile court.
You got to come.
Going to a real graduation.
It's a party.
So it's a true celebration.
It is a true celebration.
Every young person, we take them to K&G. That's the other thing. We take them to K&G, and we have them to pick out a suit, and they get measured, and they get tailored, and all that for them, and we celebrate them. We let them know how important it is, what completing something look like, and the joy that they have on their face, and their mom seeing their son in the suit for the first time and not laying in a casket is very important. And they emphasize that and talk about it, and the kids will tell you, this is the first time I've ever had a suit on, but you should see them posing. And we got a lot of those shots where they don't see them, and they know they look good. The last graduation, Derek Mason was our keynote speaker, and he was phenomenal.
He was.
With the guys.
So their families all invited. We have a full meal, and the youth speak and the parents speak. Adrian was at the last one, and then the keynote speaker speaks, and then they hand out these certificates that are framed. And the young people have usually not had an experience of completing something successfully, and the families haven't had that for them either. And so they're saying, that's my grandson, and we've got a photographer there. It is a very joyous occasion. I'm just going to say one thing. What I saw at this last one, Ron, first of all, he's been on injury for about a half a year, it feels like, because he was playing basketballs with the guys and had. I saw him. I saw him take off downstairs to the parking lot faster than I've seen him move in a long time. And he came back up, and he had a pair of shoes in his hand. I'm going to cry probably. And he took off his shoes, and he gave them to his kid who's graduating, who had tennis shoes on, who was a huge guy. And I thought, Ron, those shoes are never coming back.
He wore size 11, so I just took mine off.
He took his off, and Ron put on these other shoes, and it just happened like that. Yeah. And then they went in and went. But, I mean, the kid looked great, and I didn't notice he had tennis shoes, but you noticed, and that wasn't going to happen. So, anyway, but that's the feeling that the guys get, that Tay and Ron become surrogate fathers to them and to their parents. I mean, they take the calls. I always say, you don't have to answer when the phone rings at 3 a.m., but they take the calls, and some of them are very tragic calls, and we had one of those recently, too. Other questions?
We've got 5 minutes remaining for discussion.
In terms of I know the kids get a lot of different services. It's multifaceted, multimodal, but is there a way to currently track how much time the kid gets in each of those services?
Yeah, so we're tracking hours of engagement service.
Okay, that's what I'm,
I don't know, anything else?
By kid?
Mentor, absolutely, by kid. The database we sort of talked about, but a couple years ago, totally redesigned and built a database for Oasis. And we're able to customize it to everything that we want to track, not just need to track, but want to track. We're able to put it in there. And we can isolate impacts much better than we have ever been able to.
And so those are just that tracking. But if we were to track the phone calls, like I do write down, I just do it on. But I mean, those hours. I do. I just started now for maybe the last 15 or 16 months. It's incredible. Some of the hours, some of the days. I mean, I got a text this morning at 7:00 this morning asking, "Were we going to see Keith Sweat?" Because, we take them to the symphony and what have you. But at 7:00 this morning, I guess a parent got up and said, are you guys going to ski? I'm like, it's 7:00. But it happens that way because those are the type of relationships that we try and build and we try and sustain. And her son finished the program a year ago. So this is not like one of the newer families. And so each time we get a new group, that's just a new group of families that become a part of the family, and so it just keeps growing.
Yeah.
It never stops.
We run an alumni group. I don't think we've said that, but in the summer we always try to do an alumni group and take them on a trip. And so they went down to the beach and
we did
to
an HBCU tour last year, summer for 4 days.
Do you find some of your participants who are graduates coming back to, coming back and kind of mentoring and helping you?
We have a motto that we live by. We ask them to kind of stand to it is each one reach one, teach one. So if you came from an area, you need to take a hand of a young person that looks like you, that may be heading down that same road, grab their hand and bring them along the way, because you will have the bigger influence of that young person as opposed to us, because you're there with them all the time, and then they see you. And one of the other things we ask for our young people to do is to be the example that they would want to see. So don't just talk about it, just be about it. Let your action speak for itself. And a lot of them really, truly, man, I got a friend. And that's the other thing. They always want to bring their friends while we got groups. Like, no, we have to get them signed up so we can make sure that, everything. But literally, they want to bring their friends. But here's the thing. We always say the name of the program the first week because we don't know these guys. Instead of the real program, we call it, I Don't Want to Be Here. Because most of them don't want to be there. The mom don't want to be there. Kids don't want to be there. But we ask them to give us at least a week after orientation or 2 weeks, and they may get mad because you don't drop them off on time. And it happens all the time. So.
And then after those first couple of weeks, they're like, they are.
They realize
they're going to be upset if they can't get there.
Yeah, they realize that we're not there to tell them what to do, but we're really there to create a mirror. And literally, it is truly a mirror. Like, don't look at us. See yourself in who we are, because we was on that same journey, came down that same road, but we are the reflection that we hope that you can see. So I always say, I am what I do, and I do what I am. So I'm just a part of I am. Just, I don't want to try and tell you what to do, but just if you want to follow someone that's doing the right thing, I don't care. Follow me, and I'm okay with that.
He sends inspirational texts to the group, too.
Oh, yeah, every day.
We try to really infiltrate, and be the better gang, essentially.
2 minutes for final comments?
I don't have any. I just commend you guys for what y'all do. I've called Mr. Johnson at the detention center. He came up at 8 o'clock at night just to speak to 2 of the young men that requested him.
Yeah.
So it was just, and that kind of just highlights the need for this program. I just kind of.
Well, we called Mr. Johnson, asked him to do a class for us at the last meeting. Same day. Did you that evening?
Yeah, I think it's like,
I taught a criminal justice class last night.
Judge Calloway, right?
Yes, over at ABC College on prison and jail, the difference between the two. I really am honored to continue to serve, and I have an amazing team. As you guys can see, some amazing people. Tay McGee, I cannot brag more about this young man who came as a volunteer. He was volunteering over 40 hours a week. And then we only was able to get him on for 20 hours, and he was working over 40 hours a week when we got him on for 20 hours. And then finally, after about a year, we was able to get him on full time, and he's still working over 40 hours, and he's in school full time. And that was the other thing. He went back to school. He's going to graduate with honors.
He wants a master's now.
Yes.
It's amazing.
So it's just an honor to be in this field and to know that you can continue to give back. And then even when you're not there, if someone else is doing it, that means you don't have to be in a place. Someone else is continuing to give back, and that's what we want.
And I can come to the real graduation?
Yes, ladies.
We thank you for coming today.
Thank you. So nice to meet you.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Makila Cook. I'm an assistant professor at Meharry Medical College. And this is Stacia.
I'm Stacia Freeman. I'm the CEO and founder of Epic Girl, a nonprofit organization that works with at-risk girls.
We'd like to thank you for taking time to meet with us this afternoon and to discuss a project that we have proposed for the Juvenile Court Community Partnership Fund, Youth Reduction Priority. The title of our project is called Building Resiliency Through Positive Relationships to Reduce Risk of Youth Violence.
So basically, what this project does is it takes into account the impact of ACEs and how it extends from adolescence to adulthood and ultimately affects our community. I know many of you are probably familiar with ACEs and trauma and how it impacts overall development. Both Michaela and I are certified trauma ACEs. I'm a certified trainer for ACEs for the state of Tennessee. So basically what happens is when youth have ACEs, adverse events, trauma that has impacted their life, it leads to high-risk behaviors in adolescence and then in adulthood, which can lead to disease, early death, and a community burden, which is what we see oftentimes through our juvenile court system. And then the cycle repeats. It's interesting to note that Tennessee, through the ACEs study, we saw that 52% of Tennesseans reported that they had one adverse event, while 21% reported that they had 3 or more. Epic Girl was part of a study with Vanderbilt University where we surveyed the youth that we're seeing, that you all mainly refer to as status offenders, coming in through the court system, and found that 100% of our population reports one event, while 78% report more. Through the surveys that we're doing through the courts, through the detention, we're finding an even higher incident of adverse events.
Really?
Yeah.
Should be surprised.
Yes. So basically what this program would do is take a trauma-informed approach, which says that we would understand that every youth that we serve has a high incidence of the likelihood of trauma, and that we would view them through a trauma-informed lens and align them specifically with resilience factors looking at positive youth development. We would do this by using the Epic Girl curriculum, which is focused primarily on empowerment, and offer them additional opportunities for connection through community engagement, through community groups. It's just positive activities. We had the therapy dogs a couple weeks at our Epic Girl program at the Youth Opportunity Center. Empower them by offering them the opportunity to learn about leadership and actually become leaders within their own communities. And then we would create safe zone mentors, which is a new program looking at taking mentoring and kind of taking it to a new level in the school system to teach the school personnel how to de-escalate so that girls don't become involved in, getting kicked out of school, expelled, having truancy issues, behavior issues that lead to, we know, more serious consequences. So the impact, it's the next slide. Yes.
So we are proposing to have 40 girls participate in our curriculum, 20 in the first semester, 20 in the second semester. The 40 girls will help to identify 16 safe zone mentors that will be teachers that are at the school in order to help reduce any problems that may arise in terms of dealing with trauma. The 40 girls will also be able to participate in the leadership class and our community group activities. And this is primarily to bring a paradigm shift and to ensure that trauma-informed care is offered through the school systems.
We see a lot of times, when the girls will have an issue with girls at school, and instead of them being able to deal with it at school, they'll just bring them down to court, which we know there's an increased cost of that for us that work at the court system. And also, once a kid comes into the court system, it kind of removes some of the stigma of being there. Once they're there, it's no longer that scary to them anymore. And so we're hoping to kind of prevent that from occurring. Maplewood falls right into Promise Zone 1, so they're in a high poverty region and dealing with a lot of the issues that we see from many of the girls that we serve. So we're hoping if we can build resilience, coping strategies, alignment with positive adults, and give them positive correlation and relationship to their school community, that buy-in will decrease their likelihood to develop negative behaviors that affect all of us.
So just to give you a brief background on what typically happens. For youth that have experienced trauma, if there's an activating event, we all have the fight or flight response when we are afraid. But for trauma, youth who are acting through trauma, it's more likely that they will go to the fight mechanism, and that escalates into an explosion. What we are proposing to do is to bring in this curriculum to help youth identify when they're getting to a point of escalation, giving them the tools necessary in order to de-escalate, and more importantly, bringing in human capital through the mentorship that the teachers will bring to help talk them through whatever conflict that they're facing, to give them options to think about, choices to make that will help to de-escalate the situation.
So basically what that would do is just reduce truancy and reduce behavior issues, and hopefully with increased knowledge, you decrease the likelihood of violence and delinquency.
So we have come up with a sustainable financial plan for implementing this pilot study. Our personnel will cost just over $20,000. For travel to and from the schools, it'll be about $466, and we have to make sure that we keep our insurance to prevent liability.
Indeed.
Our supplies, which will include activities that the youth will be involved in through the community portion of the curriculum, and incentives for them to participate. We know that we need to offer snacks.
Food.
Yeah.
They love to eat.
Food.
Feed them, they will come.
In addition to that, for the technical support that we will provide, that will be in kind. So this allows us to stay within the $25,000 that we are requesting.
So basically, the $25,000 is a cost-effective investment to bring trauma-informed approaches to Maplewood. First, this funding would build trauma-informed capacity within the school that we hope can be replicated in other schools around Nashville. It would help by building protective factors among justice-involved girls that would help them stay in school, help them develop their own coping mechanisms so that they can be strong and reduce high-risk behaviors and thus reducing criminal charges. And finally, long-term participants would learn healthy coping skills, develop resilience long-term, and ultimately reduce intergenerational trauma, which means that the days we hope of seeing, I see a lot of times with probation officers that I work with where they say, I remember when her mom was on probation. So we really know that if we're going to have long-term changes for our community, we have to stop the cycle.
So our EPIC team, you've met two of us, myself and Stacia, and most of you already know Stacia. Charity Glenn and Stacy Spears will be our case managers that will be working directly with the youth. And we also have an administrative assistant at Meharry that will handle all of the reports and budgeting. So our time frame is 12 months. We anticipate doing this 12 months, beginning in September. We'll identify participants and identify the Safe Zone mentors. We'll also be able to train the mentors during that time frame. And the actual empowerment group will begin in the second month, which will be October, and expected to go for 12 weeks total. Followed by our community groups, which will be integrated within the curriculum. And we anticipate graduation in month 5 for the first semester group. The second semester will then begin, recruitment will be during the 5th month as well. And then we will repeat the same model in the second semester. And we anticipate about 3 months worth for doing our analysis and reporting. Meharry and Epic Girl have been working together for just over a year, and we plan to continue to collaborate on grants. We have a couple of things pending that hopefully will come through. So we're continuing to expand on our individual donor support as well as foundational federal funding.
Yeah, and we hope that by training educators within the school system that we can empower them in a sense to perpetuate the model, because we know that Epic Girls One agency, and we really want schools to learn to take ownership of some of their own programming so that it really does create a community without the need for a lot of outside resources.
Change the culture.
Yes, exactly.
And so this is a pilot that we hope to be able to bring, as Stacia said, to other schools. And we think that what we get, the information that we gather as a result of this project will be really meaningful moving forward.
Yes, so we wanted to end, which I realized I forgot like the most important part. You should have kicked me.
Well, I was trying to
so in the spirit of Shark Tank, because Shelley said like Shark Tank, you know, you're supposed to be selling something. So Michaela and I are selling these magic pills, and if you eat one, all of your problems with juveniles will disappear. And so I wish that it was that easy, but it isn't. But still, there's the magic pills for all of you to enjoy. And then I'll just end by saying we really, as an agency, and Michaela and I both, I have over 12 years of experience of working with exploited youth, and Michaela did her PhD looking at policies around the issue of exploited youth. So we really share the commonality of believing that empowerment is about more than just teaching kids a curriculum. It really is contingent on relationships long-term that are consistent, and beyond that, it's about teaching youth that their voices matter enough that they can change policies and have an impact in their community. So when Michaela and I were planning this to come to speak to y'all, I said, let's get some of my girls to tell us what they think about this. So one of the girls that I contacted was a girl that y'all sent me 2 years ago. She was 14 years old. She was a freshman. She was fighting, she was getting expelled, she was running away, she was running around with gang members. She was on a fast track to nowhere. And she had had involvement with juvenile court. Kathy Simbach called me and said, can you whisper? Kathy calls me the girl whisperer. So she sends me the most difficult cases. And it's like, help. And so I met with this kid. She sat in the corner, didn't really say much. Then the next week she showed up for class again. And the third week she showed up again, and she was starting to talk. At the end of the class, I kind of walked over, put my arm around her and said, hey, you know what? You don't have to keep coming to this class. What I'd rather you do is come to the empowerment curriculum, the additional classes, and then work towards getting a mentor. She was like, my mom says I'm so much better since I've been coming. She makes me come every week. Can you call her and tell her there's other classes? So that started this long relationship. She brought her sister with her. They both completed our program. I texted her this week and said, can you tell me in your own words what Epic Girl means? And Michaela said I had to read it. I think she should read it. Verbatim to y'all so that you could hear exactly what she said. She said, Epic Girl changed my life. It showed me how to set boundaries for myself and others. Without Epic Girl, I would not be the strong, powerful young woman that I am today. I love it. She's in 11th grade. They taught me how not only to empower myself, but to encourage and empower other young women around me. So I think that's like a really good testimony of the girls. I will say I never intended on working with delinquents, but I've been teaching a class in detention, and I love those girls so much, and it's such a privilege to be able to go and serve them. And one of the girls just recently got transferred to DCS. She's in a residential placement, and I see her on Fridays. So I took her the curriculum and said, give us input. What do you want Michaela and I to say to be your voice to the panel that we'll present at today at 2 o'clock? And she said, well, first you should have put my picture in it. That was her first advice. Second, she said, you're going to Maplewood? Oh my God, like you are? That's gonna be awesome. And then she said, if I'd had a program like this, maybe I wouldn't be where I am right now, because you're the first person, Epic Girls, the first agency that showed up consistently, told me I was smart, bought me books, encouraged me to read, and told me that I had power over changing my future. So basically, that's what we want to do. We want to plant the seeds in more young girls, starting with Maplewood, so that they, in a sense, have the power and capacity to change their own communities. So thank you so much.
One more slide.
You'll have time for Q&A. It's just 2:58, so you're done at 3:15, so you have
Do we get extra points for that?
ample time for Q&A.
Sure. Okay, awesome.
This is, I guess, more of a comment than a question, but I just think this is something that is so needed by girls, because usually programs are focusing on the males. So this is just something I think that is definitely needed for girls, and this is.
Yeah, and in my experience, we're seeing such an increase in girls that are being sent to juvenile hall, that are coming in contact with the justice system, and this is nationally. And we,
It's one of the few things nationally that's growing.
That's growing, yes. And it's and gang involvement, again, in the violence by girls that are involved in gangs. So this was when I met Stacia and I saw what she was doing and what she was involved in. I said, I need to work with you because this is what I was doing when I was in Los Angeles, and I want to be with you on this here in Nashville, and for whatever we can do.
And we really want to be committed to evidence-based practices, which I know I've been in contact with Vanderbilt already about looking at SPEP. It's difficult for young agencies to start putting stuff through evidence-based, and that's why we did that very early on with Vanderbilt, to look at that first identity curriculum, to make sure that what we were teaching was actually impactful and that our outcomes were positive, and we were seeing positive outcomes. From some of the initial data that we collected, we did see a decrease in the number of girls that attended our classes and their court involvement. So we are seeing an impact.
We still track that with this crew?
Yes.
Yes.
That's the question I had. I just wondered about what you were planning on doing, what kind of tools you plan on using to evaluate the effectiveness of your program.
Oh, yeah. So if you go back to one of the earlier slides, it was in small, again, here. One of the things that we're doing, we're doing. We're going to kind of quickly through this one. We will have a pre and post surveys that we will distribute, but in addition to that, we're going to track truancy. We're getting truancy information from the schools. Okay. So we'll know what, first of all, who the students are that have high truancy, right? And then we'll be able to track over time for this academic year, are they still staying truant or not, or are we seeing fewer absences from school?
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I do also think it's really important to note that, like the girl that I asked to consult on this today, she said, I said, were you ever at Maplewood? She goes, no, that's one of the few schools I wasn't at. She listed 9 schools that she had been in, and she'd been put out of all of them. She said, I can't imagine what it would have been like if I could have come and seen somebody like you that would have talked to me about why I was feeling so angry. And so it was just her insight in that. I think that by creating safety for youth, you do decrease that fight or flight response so that they gain ownership of their own emotions. And when you put them in charge, back in control, because anger is a lack of control, so when you put them back in charge, you give them the understanding that they're in charge of their truancy, they're in charge of their outcomes. And so that is really part of the key pieces of empowerment, is letting people learn how to be back in charge.
I think that's really an important piece to just highlight, because when youth are involved in delinquency, their agency is compromised. They don't feel like someone's always telling them what to do. And so when you help them realize that they do have power and they have agency, and I think this is what we're tapping into for these youth through Epic Girl. It gives them a sense of freedom and responsibility. And it's not just, I'm just upset and I'm just acting out and everyone's telling me what to do, but they get to make a choice. And that's really important for our youth in general, but in particular for our youth that have experienced such trauma.
Well, and realize they have a choice.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't even realize that.
Yeah.
This particular girl today, though, she said they're asking around here if you can come and teach Epic Girl to all these other girls. And I said, what do you think about that? And she said, no, you're my person. She didn't want to share me. So I said, what about
when you're not here anymore, do you think it would be helpful to these girls? And she goes, no, because something, I don't know what's wrong with them. Then she stopped and said, I mean, I don't know what's happened to them. Like her language was starting to change. And I said, what if better than that, instead of me coming, what if you were empowered to such a level that you could teach them? And that's really what I think is the key for so many of our youth, is for them to be empowered, to know that they actually can have impact. Makila and I've looked a lot at surveys that you do with youth to show them how to affect policy change. You know, kids are very, they're very willing to say, it's not fair, it's not fair, it's not fair. But when they start to understand, well, it's not fair, it's an injustice, and my voice has power in changing that from being an injustice. That's really when you've really made a huge change.
Sure. I have a two-part question. Why Maplewood, and what age group, what grades are you guys targeting?
So the reason for Maplewood is that they're very open to working with Epic Girl already. So their social work department had already contacted me to say, what would it take for us to come, for you to come here? So it wasn't like we'd have to go beg them to allow us to come. They're already kind of planning on working with us. And so that's the first reason. The other reason is they are in Promise Zone 1. So it would be some of the most, the most troublesome kids. And from working with Epic Girl in the court system for the past 3 years with kids coming in as with status offenses, we see a high incidence of girls coming from Maplewood.
Yeah. And ages, well, Epic Girl is open to 12 to 17-year-olds, but because it's a high school population, we're most concerned with who's truant. So we're not going to be only ninth graders. Right. So we're opening it up to all attendees.
Yeah, and the social work staff will help us with discipline, ongoing discipline issues, kids that are more likely to have expulsion and truancy issues and be put out of school.
Yeah. Good question.
Still have time for a question?
Come on. Because if you don't, Makila and I, we have a dance routine planned.
Our exit dance.
Tana's not for that.
So the cameras are rolling.
It's like the big disco.
No. I'm good. I'll let you do it, Sasha.
I think it's just a great opportunity to explain to y'all why Makila did this a little bit about why we're so passionate about girls. And I think from both of our background of working with exploited youth, Epic Girl's based on a secondary prevention strategy that looks at the root causes that are driving disease following a healthcare model. We don't do that a lot with social justice issues, where we go, there are root causes that are driving delinquency, that are driving exploitation, that are driving gang affiliation. So if we have a captive population or a place where we know those secondary factors are more likely to occur, and then we can wrap around with supportive relationships. We know that if you look at the ACEs research and how resilience is built, one healthy adult relationship can change everything. And because in adolescence their brains and the stimulation of the growth of the frontal lobe is on high power, we really have a very small window of time to make a difference before they end up in the adult system.
Yeah.
And then we're looking at long-term health consequences and expense to our community.
All right, if y'all have no more questions, we appreciate you coming today with your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, good to see y'all.
What y'all do.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.